Under a starry sky, a grand castle stands as a silent witness to the events within, its name spoken into the night. Lavis Vindica. Inside, amidst a scene of utter carnage, a lone survivor looks up at a horned man in a cape, condemning him as an absolute monster. The survivor, a gray-haired man from House Hilt, kneels among the bodies of his fallen comrades, defiantly questioning if the horned man believes he can get away with such a massacre. The horned man, Lavis Vindica, looks down with cold contempt, asking if House Hilt truly believed their secret activities would remain hidden. Vindica clenches a blood-soaked fist, correcting the survivor. He clarifies that this was not a massacre. Instead, it was a righteous execution, carried out by the authority of House Vindica. The scene shifts, a single flame flickering to life. However, Vindica's actions have not gone unnoticed by his own superiors, as a new, powerful figure appears, scolding the young man for his arrogance and foolishness. This unseen superior reveals the true nature of the mission, stating that the order was to find evidence of treason, not to exterminate an entire family. The superior accuses Lavis of disrupting the very order of the demon realm. This powerful figure is revealed to be Gamudair Vindica, the Demon King, who states that Lavis has gone too far this time. Lavis argues back, questioning his father's words and insisting that evidence of House Hilt's corruption was everywhere. He explains that due to political interference, they were unable to punish House Hilt even when they had proof of their crimes. He passionately asks his father to consider all the crimes that House Hilt had gotten away with. The Demon King is unmoved, coldly stating that there is a proper procedure for enforcement, one that does not require Lavis's personal judgment. Lavis scoffs at this, finding the concepts of procedure and enforcement laughable. He declares that in the demon realm, darkness is swallowed by an even deeper darkness, questioning if this is not their true law of survival. The Demon King listens in silence, his expression unreadable. Lavis makes his final point, arguing that if House Vindica cannot eliminate such an obvious evil, they have no right to call themselves rulers of the realm. Lavis passionately argues that his father knows the nobles are toying with the demon realm's order. Gamudair dismisses this as short-sightedness, calling his son a fool. Lavis insists that House Vindica's survival depended on destroying House Hilt, questioning if that wasn't the very reason he was sent to investigate their crimes. He condemns the cowards who hid behind the fallen house and turned a blind eye to the corruption of their laws. The Demon King's gaze narrows. With a sigh, Gamudair states that there is no reasoning with his son. He reveals that he and the 12 black seats have already decided on Lavis's punishment, a word that catches Lavis by surprise. Gamudair's voice booms as he delivers the sentence. For the crime of violating demonic law and massacring House Hilt, Lavis Vindica is to be banished to the human realm. Lavis is stunned by the mention of the human realm. In disbelief, he asks his father if he is truly serious about the punishment. Gamudair commands his son to pay for his crimes in the human realm, where his powers will be sealed, and to learn the true dignity of a Vindica. A desperate Lavis pleads with his father, arguing that while he killed the members of House Hilt, he did not destroy their souls. Unmoved, Gamudair orders the 12 black seats to execute the sentence at once, and they begin to channel a powerful spell. Lavis screams in protest, refusing to accept the punishment and insisting he has done nothing wrong as the magical chains bind him. A member of the 12 black seats channels the potent banishment magic. The spell engulfs Lavis, who lets out a scream of pure agony. One of the hooded figures leans in, mockingly wishing the little rogue prince a wonderful time. The figure smirks, promising to take good care of things in his absence, which fills Lavis with pure, unadulterated rage. Lavis erupts in a final furious outburst as the banishment spell reaches its peak. The sentence is officially declared. Lavis Vindica is hereby sentenced to descend into the human realm. As he is banished, the rules of the human realm are seared into his consciousness. The penalty for violating any of these rules is absolute soul annihilation. Elsewhere, a young man lurches awake with a sharp gasp. He sits up in bed, looking around in a daze. Staring at his hands, he breaks into a cold sweat. He grits his teeth in frustration. Lavis clutches his head, realizing he has truly fallen into the human realm. He seethes with rage, thinking of the one who mocked him, a man named Banbei, and vowing to tear his horns out upon his return. His vengeful thoughts are cut short by a wave of pain, and he wonders why his new human body aches so much. He looks down at himself in disgust, questioning if he is truly trapped in such a pathetic vessel. He internally curses the Hilt family, deeming them useless even in their demise. The demon prince grimaces, finding it difficult to breathe and wondering why the air lacks the familiar scent of sulfur. His thoughts are interrupted by a sound from the doorway where a young woman peeks in. She calls out to him, leaving the demon prince utterly confused. The young woman's face is streaked with tears of relief as she asks if he is finally awake. She rushes forward and embraces him, confessing that she feared he would never wake up. Lavis stands stiffly, completely bewildered by the sudden affection and wondering if she is the sibling of his new human vessel. Another older woman appears in the doorway, calling out the name Min-ho with a look of shock. Overcome with emotion, she covers her face and sobs, expressing her gratitude and sorrow for the pain he must have been in. Still trapped in the embrace, Lavis is at a complete loss, questioning the situation and what he is supposed to do. Lavis realizes that human relationships are considered one of the great hells, and he questions if he can survive this new environment. A stern-looking man with glasses appears, noting that Min-ho is finally awake. The mother turns to her husband, confirming that their son has woken up. The man coldly tells him to snap out of it and prepare for school the next day, stating that he has a week of work to catch up on. As they leave, the mother expresses concern for Min-ho's condition, but her husband dismisses it, insisting that being awake is enough. The young woman turns to Lavis, asking her Appa if he is okay. Lavis is left speechless by the man's callous attitude. However, a strange thought crosses his mind. He finds himself liking the man's harsh demeanor. He muses that even in the human realm, there are people who act like demons, leaving his sister utterly confused. Startled by his own subconscious reaction, Lavis's demonic nature briefly surfaces, terrifying the girl as he resolves to be careful until he can access this body's memories. His mother announces their arrival at the school, a place Lavis finds hard to believe. She tells him to call if he feels unwell during class, and he quietly acknowledges her concern. As he stares at the building, he reflects on how he finished his own schooling in the demon realm 600 years ago. The thought of attending a human school at his age fills him with disgust, and he considers this new reality a form of hell. He quickly amends his thought, deciding that it is human relationships themselves that are the true hell. Entering the classroom, he scoffs at the fleeting nature of human life, noting they barely live for a century. He resolves to simply lay low and endure this punishment, hoping to avoid any further complications. His thoughts drift back to the demon realm, recalling how his massacre of House Hilt bought him valuable time for his ultimate goal, to return and seize his father's throne. He feels a sense of urgency, believing he must act before the Vindica royal line is threatened once more. His brooding is interrupted by the arrival of two other students, one of whom greets Min-ho as if they are old acquaintances. Lavis turns with a cold, annoyed expression, wondering what the student wants. The smirking student immediately confronts him, demanding late fees for the time Min-ho was absent. To Lavis's utter disgust, he finds that Min-ho's body is reacting on its own, trembling with an instinctual fear. A memory suddenly floods his mind, revealing the source of this conditioned terror. He sees the faces of Min-ho's tormentors, their features twisted with malice. The memory shows the lead bully laughing as he brutalized the helpless boy. The vision ends with Min-ho beaten and crying on the ground. Back in the present, Lavis begins to understand the source of his physical discomfort. He realizes with cold fury that the aches in this pathetic vessel were caused by these very punks. The bully slams his hand on the desk, mocking Min-ho for being so scared and calling him even more pathetic than before. The lead bully offers a condescending welcome, demanding Lavis pay his dues as a twisted sign of friendship. The 600-year-old demon prince processes the situation with utter disbelief, questioning if he is actually being bullied. This triggers a memory from the demon realm, where a teacher presented humans as a subject for study. His classmates had reacted with disgust, mocking the humans for their lack of horns and vulgar appearance. The teacher agreed, calling humans infinitely vulgar beings who would do anything to hide their weakness. She further explained that they were foolish creatures who worshipped both demons and angels. A young Lavis, filled with contempt, had declared that such idiots should simply be burned away. His teacher's hand glowed with power as she agreed with his assessment. She instructed the class that if they ever encountered a human, they were to crush their vulgarity into dust. Back in the present, this lesson fuels Lavis's cold fury as he questions how a mere human dares to lay a hand on him. The lead bully casually checks his phone, completely unaware of the danger. In an instant, Lavis slams him onto the ground, his contempt for the foolishness of humans boiling over. The bully struggles against Lavis's grip, demanding to be released as his friend looks on in shock. The second bully erupts in a furious rage at this sudden act of defiance. Lavis is taken aback as he feels a familiar power surge, realizing his sealed magic has unexpectedly reacted. The enraged bully continues to scream, questioning if Lavis has forgotten his recent brush with death and if he truly wants to die. He lunges forward, fist raised, ready to strike. Lavis watches him approach, a strange thought occurring to him as his eye glows with power. He clenches his fist, making a startling connection between the human's profanity and the stimulation of his magic. With this newfound understanding, Lavis intercepts the attack and delivers a brutal counterpunch. The force of the blow sends the enraged bully flying across the classroom. The other students are left completely speechless by the sudden violence. Lavis looks at his hand, contemplating how his magic, which should be sealed in the human realm, is active. He realizes that even within this human vessel, his demonic power instinctively reacts to malice. Minho's acquaintance stammers his name, wondering if this is truly the same person he once knew. Another bully, furious that Lavis fought back, grabs a chair and vows to destroy him. The acquaintance screams a desperate warning for Minho to watch out. Lavis, however, remains completely unfazed. He effortlessly sidesteps the clumsy attack and delivers another devastating strike. The third bully collapses to his knees, gasping for air and questioning how any of this is possible. The defeated bully can only hurl insults from the floor. Lavis reflects that humans use vulgarity to hide their weakness, questioning if the boy's curses make him feel strong. He then delivers a vicious kick to the bully's face. The brutal impact sends the boy flying backwards. Lavis muses that the true source of profanity is his own mother. The final bully is left unconscious on the floor. The entire classroom is frozen in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they just witnessed. Lavis recalls his human father's words, realizing he just needs to stay quiet until he can leave. A wicked grin spreads across his face. He then turns to the terrified students and asks if anyone else wishes to challenge him. With a demonic aura swirling around him, Lavis invites anyone else who wishes to curse at him to step forward. The other students can only stare in disbelief, questioning if this is truly the same Minho they once knew. Minho's acquaintance is particularly stunned, wondering how he could have possessed such strength. The classroom is a scene of chaos, with the bullies left unconscious on the floor as the other students keep their distance. The acquaintance cautiously approaches Lavis, asking if he is all right after the fight. Lavis recalls that this was the student who tried to help him earlier. Deciding the boy would make a perfect attendant, Lavis simply replies that he is fine. As they leave the school, the acquaintance continues to express his amazement at how Minho single-handedly defeated all of them. He jokingly asks if Minho was reincarnated from another world, causing Lavis a moment of internal panic as he wonders if his secret has been discovered. The acquaintance continues his excited speculation, guessing if he came from a martial world or even from inside a game. Lavis considers the terrifying possibility that his new attendant has already seen through his disguise. His mind flashes back to a past lesson where a horned demon mentor warned him that killing a human would result in true soul annihilation. The mentor dismisses the other teacher's words as a casual remark, stressing that the death of a human must not be taken lightly. He explains that as demons they are like gods who govern death itself. A younger Lavis counters, pointing out that humans are always trying to kill each other anyway. His mentor agrees that humans are foolish and explains that this is precisely the reason for the demon's existence. He gives one final stark reminder of the consequence, but the arrogant young Lavis scoffs, believing he would never have to go to the human realm. Back in the present, the memory leaves Lavis with a frustrating dilemma. If he cannot kill humans, he must find another way to silence them. His panic subsides as the acquaintance clarifies his comment was just a fantasy, musing how nice it would be if reincarnation were real. The boy continues his daydream, wishing he could wake up in another world, completely unaware of how close he is to the truth. Lavis internally notes that he can sense the desperate suffering of a typical human coming from his acquaintance. As they walk, the boy dismisses the idea of reincarnation as complete nonsense. He tells Minho that he understands the immense pressure he must have been under to finally snap, while Lavis is simply relieved that his secret is safe. The acquaintance then enthusiastically praises Minho for his amazing display of strength earlier. The demon prince is internally revolted, finding the idea of being praised by a mere human utterly humiliating. Later, back in his room, Lavis contemplates a strange inconsistency. his demonic power activated when he was cursed by humans, which should be impossible for a demon imprisoned in a human body. He examines his hand as a faint aura manifests, questioning the source of this phenomenon. A confident smirk forms as he believes he has figured it out. He smugly concludes that there are truly no limits to his own greatness. However, his moment of arrogance is cut short as a sudden, sharp pain courses through his new body. He doubles over, trembling in agony from the backlash. Collapsing onto his bed, he realizes Minho's body is far too weak to contain his demonic power. He laments that after only one day as a human, his existence is already this miserable. The pain is so intense that he furiously wonders how he's supposed to get any sleep. Despite his complaints, he immediately falls fast asleep. The next morning, the school day ends peacefully. As they leave, Minho's acquaintance thanks him, overjoyed that for the first time in a while, no one bothered them. Lavis dismisses the peaceful day, stating he would have preferred to beat up the bullies again to test his power further. Suddenly, a voice calls out Minho's full name, stopping them in their tracks. Lavis turns to see who is calling for him. An imposing student, flanked by his friends, confronts them with a menacing grin, asking if Lavis was the one who hurt his little brother. He gets closer, accusing Lavis of repaying his supposed protection with this act of defiance. Lavis, far from being intimidated, grins back and enthusiastically confirms that he was indeed the one. The older bully grabs him by the backpack strap and orders him to come along, a command Lavis seems thrilled to obey.
They are led to a secluded alleyway.
There, the older brother, Taewoo, scolds the original bully for getting beaten up by someone he considers a weakling. Taewoo then turns his attention back to Lavis, who remains completely unfazed, and asks what he is supposed to do with him. He gets face-to-face with the demon prince, explaining that letting this slide would make him look like a poor older brother who can't control his sibling. He aggressively pokes Lavis in the forehead, questioning if his mother taught him to behave this way. He finishes his taunt, asking if she taught him to go around beating up good kids. With a chillingly calm expression, Lavis confirms that his mother did in fact teach him to behave this way. Taewoo's anger boils over at the punk's insolence. He is completely stunned to see Lavis smiling and raises his hand to strike him down. But Lavis effortlessly catches the incoming blow. As his eyes glow with demonic power, Lavis reflects that the sharpest curses, the ones that remind him of his mother, are always the sweetest. He tightens his grip on Taewoo's wrist, his power flaring. Taewoo screams in pain and confusion, demanding to know what is happening as his arm is twisted back. Lavis internally praises his mother for gifting such potent poison to the tongues of humans. He then brutally smashes Taewoo's head into a nearby container, eliciting a choked gasp of pain. Lavis calmly observes, concluding that simple violence only binds the flesh. Lavis recalls that a rotting voice gnaws at the soul, and that these pitiful beings are desperately calling out to him. Taewoo's friends watch in horrified disbelief. Enraged and bleeding, Taewoo screams for his friends to attack. Lavis calmly acknowledges their plan to attack him as a group. A glint in his demonic eye reveals he finds this development even better. He moves with blinding speed, effortlessly dismantling the entire group. A brutal elbow strike sends another bully flying. Minho's acquaintance can only scream in terror at the unfolding violence. The fight ends in an instant and Lavis lets out a sigh. Surrounded by the broken bodies of his attackers, Lavis finds the entire experience refreshing. He reflects on the nature of violence, concluding that he finally understands why his uncle granted it to humans. His acquaintance watches in confusion as Lavis stands in the alley thanking his uncle. Unseen by the humans, a small creature with glowing red eyes observes Lavis from the shadows. It is a rat, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light as it watches him. Lavis reports to an unseen figure that the task he was ordered to do has been carried out. The scene shifts to a dark realm, where a muscular, horned demon addresses his adorable nephew, Lavis. He casually rests his foot on the head of a defeated creature. Lounging on his throne, the demon notes with amusement that Lavis seems to be enjoying his gift. Beside him, his rival Banbei observes that a demon bloodstone has been embedded in Lavis's eye instead of a taboo stone. Bambi smirks, wondering just how long Lavis will be able to endure. Bambi reflects on the fact that Lavis truly did wipe out the entire Hiltka family. He muses that the prince always has to get his way. Lavis's uncle wonders who could ever rein in such a stubborn brat, remarking that Demon King Gamadair showed no mercy by banishing him. Banbi recalls the Demon King's creed, that vicious, high-ranking individuals must be dealt with through subjugation by force. The uncle considers that the human realm is a dumping ground for the demon world's worst criminals and doubts Lavis will adapt easily. He recalls a memory of a younger Lavis begging for help, wondering when that tiny brat grew up enough to cause such trouble. Bonby asks if this is the reason the uncle gifted Lavis the demon bloodstone. He then reports to a figure named Lord Barca that preparations to observe the sinner in the human realm are complete. The uncle, Lord Barca, grins with anticipation and orders Banbei to show him. Banbei complies and a torrent of dark energy erupts from the ground. Banbei explains that since Lavis is now in the human realm, he will inevitably encounter a certain group of mysterious figures. He manipulates the dark energy with his hand. The energy coalesces into a viewing portal. Lord Barca looks up into the swirling vortex, expressing his excitement to see what his nephew will do. As Lavis stands resolute in the human world, his uncle's spectral form looms over him, ominously stating that he will now experience true darkness. Later, at a restaurant, Minho's acquaintance is still in shock, unable to believe how easily Lavis took down Taiwu. His shock turns to pure excitement as he gushes that the fight was awesome, like something out of a movie. Lavis struggles with the spicy food, trying to play it cool, while his acquaintance asks if he is crying, a claim Lavis denies by saying it is just sweat. The acquaintance wishes they had ordered the beginner-level spice, but Lavis internally declares that a demon who avoids hell isn't a demon at all. Their meal is suddenly interrupted by a call on the acquaintance's phone. The acquaintance's face drains of color as he sees the name on his ringing phone. Lavis, still eating, nonchalantly asks why he isn't picking up. Flustered, the acquaintance stammers that he just received an urgent call. He quickly gathers his things, telling Lavis he has to leave first and to enjoy the food. Lavis watches with a cold, unimpressed expression as his acquaintance flees the restaurant. The scene shifts to a dark, ominous-looking building in a secluded area. Inside, a gloved hand holds a buzzing tattoo gun ready for work. In a dimly lit room, a female tattoo artist warns her client not to move, lest they get hurt. A man standing nearby glances at a wall covered in photos of bruised and bloodied victims, complaining that he has extra work because someone failed to pay their debt. The tattoo artist smiles, announcing she is finished, revealing her victim is Tae-woo, who now bears a humiliating new tattoo on his forehead. The tattoo artist compliments her work, remarking on how nicely the ink settled into Tae-woo's skin. A voice announces to someone named Miss Jae-hee that they have brought the person she was waiting for. A terrified student in glasses, held firmly by a large man, stammers Jae-hee's name in fear. The tattoo artist, Jae-hee, casually holds a gun and asks why they were so late, before calling the student, Sion, to come and see something. She grabs Sion's face, ordering him to open his eyes and look carefully. Forcing him to look at the unconscious Taiwu, she asks what he thinks this all means. Jae-hee explains that the characters on Taiwu's forehead mean thief bastard, the punishment for not paying his debt. As a menacing aura emanates from her, she leans in to ask Sion about the status of their promise. Sion, sweating in terror, makes a weak excuse about there being bugs getting in his way. His excuse is met with violence, as Jae-hee strikes him to the floor and asks if he thinks this is some kind of joke. Jae-hee chastises him for being so slow to grasp the situation. She grabs his hand forcefully. With a menacing grin, she offers to carve the lesson onto the back of his hand so he will understand. Sion screams in terror, begging her not to. She calmly tells Lim Sion to listen carefully. She informs him that this is his last chance. He is ordered to do exactly as he was told. As she tells him to make sure everything is ready, the terrified Sion wonders if he can truly finish the task. Later that night, Sion sits alone in his room, typing at his computer. He clenches his fists, realizing that he has no choice but to follow her orders. He steels himself, thinking of what Jae-hee will do if he fails. He works through the night, compelled to obey. Elsewhere, Lavis awakens in agony, clutching his stomach and wondering if this is the effect of spicy food. He laments that his stomach burns, his body feels weak, and even a small fight has left his shoulder in pain. In a fit of rage, he curses the pathetic weakness of his new human body. Refusing to be defeated, he begins a grueling workout, declaring that he, Lavis Vindica, will not fall to this. He pushes through the pain, vowing to rehabilitate this trash body no matter the cost. With a furious roar, he proclaims that no amount of pain will ever make him submit. The next day at school, Minho's acquaintance stands alone in the hallway. He holds a small gray device in his hand. He stares at the device, his thoughts consumed by the app he is using. A cold sweat breaks out as he realizes it is far too dangerous. He recalls Jae-hee's menacing order to ensure that everything is ready. Gripped by panic, he wonders what he is supposed to do. Suddenly, Lavis grabs his shoulder from behind, causing the startled Cyan to cry out in shock. Lavis calmly asks him why he is so startled. For a fleeting moment, Cyan considers asking Minho for help. He immediately dismisses the thought. He knows that even the newly powerful Minho would be in grave danger if he got involved with Jin Jae-hee. Cyan resolves that he cannot let his friend get hurt, deciding to bear this burden alone. As Lavis confronts Cyan, he is suddenly distracted by a familiar scent. He recognizes the smell from somewhere before, just as a girl with orange hair trips and falls in the hallway. Cyan cries out in shock, identifying the fallen student as Seungye. He rushes to her side, frantically asking if she is okay and telling her to snap out of it. Kneeling down, he anxiously checks to see if she has been injured. He is horrified to find her groaning in agony, with blood trickling from her nose and foam at her mouth. Cyan recoils with a scream of pure terror. Lavis, however, remains calm, his demonic eye glowing as he identifies the scent as demonic energy, questioning why it would be inside a human. Another group of students runs up, with one asking what is happening to Seungye. He quickly hoists her onto his back, telling her to hold on as they rush her to the infirmary. As Seungye is carried away, something on her arm catches Lavis's eye. He spots a familiar crest marked on her skin. He recognizes it as the symbol of the Hiltka family, the rival house he massacred, and questions how a human could bear their mark. His demonic eye glows with determination as he decides he must confirm this new mystery. Later that night, Lavis makes his way to the hospital where Seungye is being treated. As he approaches her room, a female officer on guard duty calls out, telling him to stop. She asks if he is Seungye's friend and informs him that the patient needs to rest and cannot have visitors. The officer is startled as Lavis leans in, his demeanor suddenly menacing. With his eye glowing ominously, he declares that he will grant her oblivion. The officer's eyes go blank as Lavis uses his demonic power to erase her consciousness, clearing his path. The red glow in his eye fades as the spell takes hold. He leaves the now vacant-eyed officer sitting motionless in the hallway. Lavis reflects that he can achieve this level of power even with his faint demonic energy, though he knows the effect is only temporary. With the guard neutralized, he quietly enters Seungye's room. Inside, he finds the orange-haired girl awake, looking drained but alert. Startled by his sudden appearance, Seungye weakly asks who he is. Lavis ignores her question, his expression turning cold as he demands to know who she is supposed to be. Her confusion turns to anger as she questions why he would barge into her room. Before she can finish, Lavis lunges forward and violently grabs her arm. Seungye cries out in pain, cursing at him as he holds her in a vice-like grip. Lavis tightens his grip, demanding to know why a mere human would bear the symbol of the Hiltka family. Confused and angry, Seungye demands to know what he is talking about. His face darkens as he warns her to speak honestly if she wants to avoid suffering worse consequences. He leans in closer, his glowing eye filled with menace as he demands to know her true identity. His demonic pressure overwhelms her, and she is paralyzed with absolute terror. She begins to stammer an answer. As a monstrous, shadowy aura erupts behind him, she realizes with horror that he is a demon. The vision fades, and Lavis calmly prompts her to continue speaking. He impatiently orders her to spit it out. Panicked, Seungye insists that she truly knows nothing, before fearfully uttering the name Jae-hee. Seungye explains that someone named Jae-hee told her she had to get the tattoo to join their crew, and also offered her diet pills. As Lavis holds her, he detects a faint, familiar scent coming from her. He recognizes it instantly as a scent he has smelled before in the demon realm. The memory transports him back to a massive circular staircase in the demon realm, where a young Banbei asks a young Lavis where he is going. Banbei warns him that the area ahead is restricted. Lavis smirks, tauntingly calling Banbei a coward. Banbei becomes visibly flustered and angry at the insult. He insists that he is not scared, but simply wants to avoid punishment, prompting Lavis to coldly tell him to leave. Banbei refuses, explaining that he cannot leave Lavis alone because he knows the young prince will get into trouble. Resigned, Banbei follows him down the dark staircase, nervously wondering how far they intend to go. The two young demons venture deeper into the vast, foreboding chamber. Banbei nervously asks Lavis if he is aware of a certain story. Lavis replies that he has no idea, prompting Banbei to clear his throat and begin. He explains that the darkness reminds him of a tale about beings whose eyes transcend their species. According to Banbei, there are two ways such beings can lose their sight.
He elaborates that they are either blinded by light that is too bright
or their eyes atrophy from seeing nothing at all in a dark place like this one. Lavis suddenly cuts him off, gesturing for silence as he whispers that something is nearby. From the shadows, a pale, slender hand emerges, placing a strange purple flower against the wall. Bambi trembles in fear, asking what they are looking at. Ignoring the danger, Lavis sprints forward to investigate, while a terrified Bambi protests that it is too risky. Bambi recognizes the figure with horror, identifying him as Jeremy Hiltka. Lavis looks down at the body, observing that Jeremy is already dead. Strange purple flowers have bloomed from the corpse's eyes and chest. Lavis questions the nature of the flower and reaches for it, ignoring Banbei's frantic warning. As he plucks it, bloody, thorny roots rip from the ground. The young prince recoils, disgusted by the flower's foul smell. Bambi stares in shock. He identifies it as the dreaded gnawing flower. The memory ends, and back in the present, Lavis realizes the scent on Seongye is identical to that of the gnawing flower. Overwhelmed by terror, Seongye begs him to spare her life. Lavis glances out the window where a small bat-like creature with glowing red eyes watches him from the darkness. The bat-like creature addresses Lavis, remarking that they are meeting sooner than expected. It then expresses its anticipation for what is to come. Later, Lavis makes his way through a dark alley. He arrives at his destination, Jin Jae-hee's tattoo shop. He contemplates the connection between the Hiltka crest and the gnawing flower, questioning if it could truly be a coincidence. Inside, a group of men discuss someone named Lim Sion, wondering why their boss is so obsessed with him, only to learn it is because of an app he created. One of them, a blonde-haired man, mockingly asks if they are going high-tech as he holds up a small, blue, flower-shaped object. He identifies the object as Blue Ribbon, a recent development from their boss. His companion warns him to be careful, reminding him of what happened to someone else and noting that the new drug has severe side effects. The blonde man dismisses the warning, caring only about the high, as Lavis observes them from the end of the hall. Lavis's eyes narrow as he spots a familiar, intricate crest tattooed on the blonde man's neck. He recognizes the scent of the drug as the same as the gnawing flower, confirming the tattoo is indeed the Hiltka crest. Stepping out from the shadows, Lavis confronts the group, asking if they also got their tattoos from Jin Jae-hee, which leaves them wondering who this stranger is. The blonde man saunters over, casually asking if Lavis is a friend of Jae-hee's. He gets uncomfortably close, grabbing Lavis's hoodie and telling him he needs to show some respect. Lavis's demonic eye glows with cold fury. Before the man can react, Lavis catches his hand mid-air. In a blur of motion, Lavis twists the man's arm and delivers a brutal strike to his face. The blonde man lies unconscious on the floor as his stunned companions stare in disbelief. The blonde man's companion erupts in fury, demanding to know who sent Lavis. Lavis ignores the question and immediately throws a punch at the blonde man's companion. The blow connects with brutal force, sending the man flying backwards into the wall. Scrambling on the ground, the subordinate screams in a rage, calling Lavis insane. As he gets to his feet, a third subordinate draws a knife and charges, while the downed man declares that Lavis is dead meat. The blonde man's companion lunges forward again, throwing a wild punch. Lavis meets the attack head-on, landing a vicious counterpunch that sends blood flying. With two opponents now neutralized, Lavis turns his attention to the final knife-wielding attacker. The man closes in, screaming as he prepares to stab the demon prince. Lavis casually blocks the strike with his forearm, the force of the impact shattering the blade and sending the man reeling back in pain. With a cold, dismissive glance, Lavis watches his last opponent fall, the fight over in seconds. With the grunts neutralized, Lavis calmly demands to know the whereabouts of Jin Jae-hee. From the ground, the defeated blonde man weakly orders his companion to kill the intruder. Fueled by a sudden surge of power, the companion's face twists with rage as he vows to kill Lavis. Lavis is taken aback, sensing an unexpected spike in the man's demonic energy. The man lunges forward in a wild, drug-fueled frenzy. Lavis observes the change in his movements, deducing that the drug must have enhanced his physical abilities. The enhanced speed catches him off guard, and he's knocked to the ground by a powerful kick. His opponent leaps into the air, preparing to deliver a finishing blow. He brings a powerful punch down towards the grounded prince, but Lavis's eyes narrow with focus, his demonic power flaring as he prepares to counter. Elsewhere, under the cover of night, another part of the conspiracy unfolds. In a dimly lit room, Jin Jae-hee reports to a red-haired man on a couch, apologizing that a certain app is not yet finished. Her blonde subordinate expresses his impatience, but Jae-hee coolly remarks that his words sound familiar. She then directs their attention to a bruised and bound man, revealing they have caught the one who was skimming their blue ribbon supply. The captured man panics, screaming that he made a mistake and begging for his life. He desperately pleads for one more chance, promising that he will never mess up again. The group falls silent, their attention shifting to a vase filled with flowers that look exactly like the blue ribbon drug. Jae-hee reaches out and grabs the bouquet of blue flowers from the vase. Seeing this, the prisoner's face contorts in pure terror as he realizes his fate. He can only stammer out a final desperate plea for mercy. He lets out a final terrified scream, begging them not to do it. But Jae-hee ignores his pleas, raising the bouquet of sinister flowers high into the air. She brings her hand down with brutal force, striking the helpless man. He chokes in agony, tears streaming down his face. Jae-hee watches the result of her work with a cold, detached expression. The man looks up one last time, weakly pleading for someone to save him. His pleas are met with silence as Jae-hee prepares to strike again. A final, violent impact sends blood splattering across the room. The man's body collapses to the floor, broken and still. Standing over him, Jae-hee calmly informs her subordinates that in their line of work, there are no second chances. She trusts that everyone present understands her warning. Her gaze then falls upon her own reflection. The red-haired superior addresses her directly, telling her to stop making excuses and bring him the app. Terrified, Jae-hee stammers that she understands. As she leaves, she panics, realizing that at this rate she will be next. In a desperate frenzy, she calls Lim Sion, demanding he pick up the phone. Elsewhere, a phone begins to ring. The call is for Lim Sion, who looks up startled. He cautiously answers. On the other end, the brutally beaten Taewoo screams his name. Taewoo explains that he was trying to look into something himself, but the people around him were not cooperative. Lim Sion is completely confused by the call. A cold voice on the other end of the line asks if he knows Jin Jae-hee. The caller, Lavis, then asks if it was Sion who answered Jae-hee's phone earlier. Sion reacts with shock, questioning how the caller could possibly know that. Lavis calmly states that her name was on the caller ID and asks for her current location. Sion grows more frantic, worried that Jae-hee's gang has gotten to the caller, but Lavis clarifies that is not the case. He explains that he sought her out to verify something and is currently at her empty tattoo shop. As he walks down a flight of stairs, the mysterious bat-like creature observes him from the shadows. Panicked, Sion warns Minho to stay away from Jae-hee and declares that he is coming to his location immediately. Lavis ends his call with the frantic Sion. His attention is immediately drawn to a strange white cat that appears at the bottom of the stairs. He addresses the startled creature directly, confirming that he is speaking to the furball. With a swift motion, Lavis picks up the terrified cat by the scruff of its neck. He holds it at eye level and asks if it understands him, but the cat only meows in response. Unleashing his demonic power, Lavis's eye glows red as he menacingly insists that the creature make itself understood. Paralyzed with fear, the cat screams its compliance. Lavis questions its true identity, noting that he was previously followed by a rat and a bat. The creature reveals its true form, explaining that it is a monitor from the demon realm, sent to covertly observe prisoners in the human world. It clarifies that this is why it was watching Lord Lavis, though it internally questions the prince's incredibly weak demonic energy. The monitor wonders how Lavis managed to notice it, to which the prince coldly replies that it stands out far too much. He points out the obvious flaw in its disguise. It's standing on two legs, causing the creature to panic and drop to all fours. Lavis decides there is no point in questioning the monitor any further. Instead, his demonic eye glows as he calls out for the creature's true master to reveal themselves. The scene shifts to a lavish room in the demon realm, where the taunting figure from his banishment, Banbei, remarks that Lavis figured things out faster than he expected. Lavis furiously accuses Banbei of being behind this, but Banbei feigns offense, calling his friend's accusation cold. Unmoved, Lavis demands to know what Banbei is plotting this time. Banbei continues to play innocent, asking what he could have possibly done. Frustrated, Lavis decides to drop the subject and ask a different question. He notes that things are different from what he remembers and asks the monitor if it is normal for a banished prisoner to be able to use demonic power in the human realm. The monitor explains that when it comes to demonic power, there are exceptions to every rule. Speaking through the creature, Banbei cryptically tells Lavis he will figure it out on his own soon enough, then asks if he has any other questions. Lavis changes the subject, recalling the devouring flower and noting its strong scent in the human world. He reminds Bombay that he smelled it too, a flower so forbidden it shouldn't exist here. Banbi confirms this, revealing that the Demon Realm's administrators know the Hilt family's influence has spread to the human world, and that their persistence meant they were never fully wiped out. Lavis grimaces, asking if this means the Hilt family's remaining forces are now operating in the human realm. Bambi simply chuckles at his question. He explains that the human realm is no longer what it once was, having become a playground for all sorts of conspiracies. With a sinister grin, Bombay suggests this is a perfect opportunity for Lavis to go ahead and clean them all out. Lavis is left confused and angry, demanding to know what Bombay is talking about. Lavis shouts through the monitor, demanding that Bombay tell him what else is going on. But the connection is severed and the Demon Realm monitor simply reverts to its cat form, letting out a confused meow. Lavis is left seething in silent fury, his questions unanswered. The scene shifts to the city rooftops under the dark night sky. Elsewhere, the tattoo artist Jae-hee paces in an alley, frustrated that her call isn't being answered, noting that time is of the essence. She erupts in anger, questioning if Lim Sion has lost his mind for not picking up his phone. Utterly annoyed, she continues to try and make contact. Her call finally connects to someone, her thoughts filled with a single menacing promise for Lim Sion. In an office, a man named Seong Jun answers the call from Jae-hee. She orders him to the office immediately, declaring that they are going to catch that bastard Lim Sion. Lavis questions the monitor, deducing that it must possess a great deal of information about the human world. The monitor confirms this, explaining that it receives regular updates and has decent detection abilities due to its duty of visiting prisoners in rotation. Lavis coldly orders the creature to return to its original form, leaving the monitor momentarily stunned. He radiates a menacing aura, asking if he needs to force the transformation, which terrifies the monitor into immediate compliance. A flash of light reveals the monitor's true form, a small, cheerful-looking demon girl with blue hair and horns. She happily approaches Lavis. Lavis, however, is completely unimpressed, noting how weak she appears. Still, he reasons that Bombay must have had a purpose for sending her and asks for her name. The monitor looks downcast, explaining that she does not have a name of her own. Lavis then bestows a name upon her, Street, telling her that since he found her there, she should never forget her origins. Street softly repeats her new name, realizing it is now hers. Overjoyed, she thanks Lord Lavis for naming her, and he immediately orders her to tell him everything she knows about the human world. Elsewhere, Lim Sion gasps in a cold sweat, gripped by panic. He sprints through the city streets, consumed by the thought that Minho is in danger and regretting his own choices. A flashback reveals the source of his trouble, an award he won for an app challenge, a victory he couldn't believe at the time. His name, Lim Sion, is called out. He finds himself confronted by a group of menacing figures, and a woman with a sinister smile confirms he is the developer who won the award. She scoffs at his prize money, dismissing the 50 million won as a paltry sum. With a chilling grin, Jae-hee declares that he is now a precious asset and orders her subordinates to get him in the car. Lim Sion can only stare in absolute terror. The flashback reveals Lim Sion being bundled into a van, his capture complete. Inside, one of Jae-hee's tattooed subordinates questions his trembling, calling it a simple business transaction and telling him to look beside him. A briefcase is opened to reveal 50 million won in cash, the price for handing over his app. Sion desperately protests, explaining that he never created the app with the intention of selling it. The subordinate listens with a cold, unimpressed silence. He then smirks, telling Sion that his personal feelings on the matter are irrelevant. Back in the present, the memory of that hopeless moment washes over Lim Sion. His fear hardens into a fierce, desperate determination. He sprints through the streets, convinced he must reach the shop to prevent his friend from meeting Jin Jae-hee. His frantic run is suddenly cut short as a figure blocks his path, leaving him stunned. He begins to stammer an apology for the collision. The man he ran into is Seong Jun, who remarks that they didn't even have to go looking for him. Sion's blood runs cold as he recognizes Jae-hee's enforcers. The two men corner him in the alley, ominously calling him by his full name. He remembers Jae-hee's furious threat that he was finished. In the past, she had ordered him to manage the app from their office, threatening him with lifelong imprisonment if he failed. The terrified Sion had begged them to wait, but Jae-hee had coldly warned him that they would be watching his every move. Left alone in the room with a guard, he could only whisper in protest. He was overcome with the crushing realization that it was all over. Meanwhile, other members of Jae-hee's crew observed the captive scion, questioning if he was really a developer and noting that they needed his creation to distribute their new drug, Blue Ribbon. One of them asked for confirmation that the app was called I'm Here. They couldn't understand how such an app could possibly function as a distribution channel. They mocked the app's name, believing it sounded like trash. The app's simple logo appeared on the screen. Just then, Jae-hee's enforcer Seung-jun arrived and asked if everything was ready. He explained that the app Lim Sion created was the core of their entire Blue Ribbon project. Once they had the buyer's data in their hands, he continued, they would be able to manipulate the market however they wanted. He revealed that the app's real-time location sharing feature would be their primary weapon for expanding the business. Excited by the plan, one of the crew members eagerly asked if they were finally going to start selling Blue Ribbon for real. Seung-jun holds up the small candy-like drug, confirming its name is Blue Ribbon. With a sinister smile, he declares that it is time to show their product to the world. The scene then shifts to a high school, where a student tells her friend to sign up for an app and add her. She reveals the app is I'm Here, and explains that there is a 30,000 won cashback reward for accepting a friend request. The news spreads like wildfire through the classroom as students realize they can make easy money. The viral spread is fueled by aggressive peer pressure, with one student demanding another add her immediately. Meanwhile, another group of students discovers a special sign-up event within the app. The event offers a free Blue Ribbon diet product, which is deceptively marketed as a government-certified health food. Back at the hideout, one of the crew members expresses his disbelief at how much the user base has grown in just one day. Two of Jae-hee's subordinates celebrate the insane numbers, praising the success of their boss, Young-moo. In the wreckage of her shop, Jae-hee impatiently asks if they have identified the culprit, but her subordinate reports a strange finding from the CCTV. He reveals that the only thing on the footage was a bat, leaving Jae-hee completely bewildered. The security footage shows a large bat staring directly into the camera lens with an unsettling awareness. She demands to see the footage from the other cameras, but her subordinate seems hesitant to show her. The next camera angle reveals an equally strange sight. A rat, also staring directly into the lens. Jae-hee explodes in frustration, unable to comprehend how their security was bypassed by common animals. Their argument is interrupted when their boss, Young-moo, checks his phone. He calls out to Jae-hee, who turns with a start. Putting her anger aside, she announces that the new stock of Blue Ribbon has arrived and that it is time for them to move. As the sun sets over the city, the organization prepares for the next phase of its operation. Elsewhere, Lavis stands unimpressed in a dark alley. He spots the monitor in its cat form and calls out to Street, questioning her strange posture. Street, now in her true form, nervously claims she has gained some weight, but Lavis cuts her off, demanding the results of the investigation he ordered. She proudly declares that while the task was difficult, she has figured everything out. In another location, Lavis stands over the defeated blonde-haired man, noticing the small blue candies spilled on the ground. He picks one up and recognizes the familiar, sinister scent of the gnawing flower. Seeing the man's contorted face, Lavis realizes they are consuming the drug to awaken some kind of power. He wonders how they obtained a flower that requires a host to cultivate and was thought to be extinct even in the demon realm. Street reports that the candy is called Blue Ribbon and is being distributed to humans disguised as diet pills and supplements. Lavis presses further, asking about the raw materials used to create it. Street explains that the drug's secret manufacturing makes it difficult to trace the raw materials. Lavis grows furious, questioning if her investigation yielded anything useful at all. Street quickly clarifies that by following the massive, concentrated traces of demonic energy from the widespread distribution, they can locate the manufacturer. He angrily demands to know why she hasn't acted on this lead, and she nervously explains that her master, Banbi, ordered her to go with Lavis. The mention of Banbei's name darkens Lavis's mood as he questions if she is now reporting everything directly to his rival. Overwhelmed, Street tearfully apologizes, explaining her predicament as a lowly subordinate forced to obey both of their commands. Lavis issues a stern ultimatum, forcing her to choose who her true master is. He unleashes a menacing aura, promising that if she chooses him, he will elevate her far beyond her current status. Her imagination runs wild with a vision of a glamorous and powerful future, a thought that solidifies her decision. Without hesitation, she prostrates herself before him, offering her blood and flesh as she swears her undying loyalty to her new master. Pleased with her decision, Lavis formally accepts her pledge. He declares that he will take her on as his personal subordinate, leaving Street looking up in awe. With her new oath sworn, the spectral link to her former master is severed. Lavis contemptuously dismisses his rival Banbei, officially claiming Street as his own. With his new agent secured, Lavis announces their next move: to find the place where the blue ribbon is gathered. Their search leads them through the night to a remote yard filled with shipping containers. Street confirms this is the location with the highest concentration of demonic energy, and Lavis decides to open one of the containers. She points out that their target is secured by a heavy lock and thick chains. Unimpressed by the obstacle, Lavis tells her to move as he clenches his fist. He unleashes a powerful strike, shattering the lock with a single punch as Street watches in amazement. The heavy steel door groans open, the shattered chains falling to the ground. Both Lavis and Street are immediately hit by a foul, overwhelming stench from within. Inside, they find stacks of boxes radiating a thick, dark miasma of pure demonic energy. Street recoils in disgust, questioning if this is all they've found. As the toxic energy pours out, Lavis recognizes the source with grim certainty. He confirms that the entire container is filled with the drug, Blue Ribbon. The potent demonic aura triggers a vivid flashback for the young prince. He recalls a brutal training session where his uncle, Lord Barca, mocked his impudent nephew for being far too weak. The younger Lavis, beaten and enraged, could only curse his uncle's vulgarity. Lord Barca continued his assault, telling the prince that if he refused to be cute, he should just die. The memory continues with Lord Barca landing a devastating blow to the young prince's face. The force of the strike sends Lavis flying from the cliff's edge. As he plummets into the chasm, he screams a curse at his uncle. From above, Lord Barca laughs maniacally, taunting his nephew and asking if he will simply die from this. Lavis crashes down onto the rocky ground below. He painfully pushes himself up, groaning from the impact. Suddenly, Lord Barca is there, casually asking if he is dead yet. The young prince is left completely stunned and confused by his uncle's sudden appearance. His confusion turns to horror as he realizes the chasm is a mass grave filled with bodies from which the gnawing flowers are blooming. Lavis stares in shock, the grim reality of the scene sinking in. The narration explains that in a time when darkness and light were first sundered, incompatible beings were created to oppose one another. Among them were entities that could not merge with any color, and in this chaotic divide, they thrived. The scene shifts to an ancient time as primitive beings look up from a forest clearing. They gather around a fallen comrade, from whose body a strange flower has bloomed. This gnawing flower is revealed to feed on the bodies of discarded celestials and torn demons. Its deepest desire is the complete annihilation of the world. The flashback continues, showing Lord Barca and a young Lavis standing before a massive vortex of the flower's sinister energy. Barca looks on with a confident smirk, while the young prince stares grimly into the abyss. Back in the present, Lavis recalls that the flowers should have been incinerated, a fact Street confirms, adding that the Demon King supposedly wiped them out completely. This leaves Lavis questioning how such a massive stockpile could possibly exist in the human realm. Street then reveals a shocking truth. The gnawing flower first appeared in the human realm, not the demon realm. Lavis reflects on the nature of the human world, a chaotic middle ground between light and darkness. He recalls being taught that humans had also eradicated the flowers thousands of years ago, a fact that makes the current stockpile even more baffling. He concludes that if the flowers appeared in both worlds at the same time, then their reemergence must have been orchestrated by an unknown party. Street thoughtfully repeats his conclusion. Their investigation is suddenly interrupted. A voice from the darkness asks what they are doing there, as a flashlight beam cuts through the night, revealing Jae-hee and her crew. One of her subordinates immediately recognizes Lavis, identifying him as the one who attacked their tattoo shop. Street confirms the woman's identity for Lavis, stating that she is Jin Jae-hee. Jae-hee furiously confronts them, demanding to know who they are, why they wrecked her shop, and how they managed to find this location. Unfazed, Lavis calmly asks if Jin Jae-hee is the one managing the containers, to which she defiantly asks what he'll do about it. He presses further, questioning if she knows the raw materials used to make the goods inside. Jae-hee smirks, mockingly asking if he's trying to steal their precious trade secrets. Lavis feigns disinterest, admitting that it's not strictly his business. His expression hardens, however, as he states that leaving the situation alone would leave a bad taste in his mouth. Ignoring him, Jae-hee turns to her crew, reminding one of them what Young Moo will do if they screw up again, before offering them all a special distribution. Two of her subordinates react with manic glee, asking if it's really okay for them to take the drug for free. With a sinister grin, she orders them to shut up and just eat it. As her crew eagerly consumes the glowing blue flowers, a dark, malevolent energy begins to swirl around them. Preparing for battle, Lavis tells Street that with her current magic power, she'll only get in the way, ordering her to stay hidden. The drug takes hold, twisting their bodies as they growl and laugh, their eyes glowing with malevolent power. With a wicked grin, Jae-hee points at Lavis and gives her newly empowered crew a single order: to stomp him into the ground. As the frenzied crew charges forward, Lavis calmly observes, thinking them arrogant fools who are unaware of what truly intoxicates them. His demonic eye glows as he welcomes their attack, noting that the entire area is already overflowing with the demonic energy he needs. The first of Jae-hee's subordinates lunges forward, attempting to stab Lavis with a knife. Lavis effortlessly blocks the blade with his forearm. He immediately counters with a brutal kick to the man's face, sending him reeling backwards. His glowing red eye tracks his next opponent. With blinding speed, Lavis ducks under a wild punch from a second attacker. He then drives a powerful kick straight into the man's chin, launching him into the air. He grabs a third attacker by the face, slamming him into the ground. The man screams in agony as Lavis curses his impudence. Using the downed man's body, he trips another incoming opponent. Lavis drops to a knee, blocking a heavy punch from a much larger foe. From her hiding spot, a horrified Street calls out her master's name. Undeterred, more of the frenzied crew members charge forward. Lavis is surrounded, calmly deflecting their chaotic attacks. He notes their surprising strength, deducing they must have ingested a larger dose of the drug. This realization prompts him to change his strategy. He plants his foot firmly, cracking the ground as he prepares to unleash his power. He grabs one of the attackers by the shoulder, his grip crushing. With a flash of crimson in his eye, Lavis prepares to end the fight. He unleashes a wave of purple demonic energy, blasting the frenzied crew members back. The men choke and gag, overwhelmed by the foul power. Lavis comments that while he finds their vulgar stench repulsive, his own demonic energy reacts all the more strongly to the spreading evil. One of the thugs collapses to his knees, groaning in agony. Lavis moves in without hesitation, grabbing the man by the face. He then brutally slams him into the concrete, shattering the ground beneath them. His fist begins to glow with a new, intense energy as he readies his next attack. He brings his glowing fist down with devastating force, smashing his opponent's face into the pavement. Without pausing, he pivots and delivers a powerful kick to another member of Jae-hee's crew. He moves through the chaos with brutal efficiency, felling his opponents one by one. A downed thug makes a desperate attempt to grab his ankle. Lavis responds by mercilessly stomping on the man's hand, crushing it completely. Another frenzied attacker, his face contorted with rage, lunges forward, screaming for Lavis to die. The man is completely lost in a drug-fueled madness. Lavis calmly sidesteps the wild punch. He catches the man's arm, using his opponent's own momentum against him. With a powerful throw, he slams the thug headfirst into the ground, ending the assault. Watching from her hiding spot, Street is completely stunned, questioning how Lavis is single-handedly dismantling her entire crew. Lavis remains silent, a sinister red energy pulsing from his eye. Street flinches back in pure terror. An overwhelming torrent of demonic energy erupts from the prince's body, flooding the area with his power. She stares in horror, wondering if the being before her is a ghost or something far more monstrous. His eye glows with an ancient and terrifying power. The scene opens on a banner for the 5th SC Concours. On a vast stage, a lone ballerina performs gracefully under a single spotlight. A voiceover reveals the ballerina's name is Yuri, identifying her as Kang Hyunju's daughter. In a luxurious office, a woman in a blue jacket watches the performance on a large screen, noting that Yuri's skills were exceptional enough for the prestigious Venus Ballet Company. Her viewing is interrupted as two men enter, with the spiky-haired leader casually greeting her as their VIP customer. The woman reacts with fury, demanding to know who these thugs are and how they dare to barge in. The man places a large jar filled with blue orbs on the table, calmly explaining that he is simply delivering her bulk order of blue ribbons. Her anger instantly evaporates, replaced by wide-eyed shock. Her horrified face is reflected in the glass, surrounded by the illicit product. The man questions her flustered reaction, reassuring her that his organization handles everything from manufacturing to sales, so she has nothing to worry about. Kang Hyunju's confidence wavers as she nervously asks if the product is truly safe. The spiky-haired man smirks, finding it odd that she would ask such a question at this stage. He reminds her that she has already given a large amount of the drug to her daughter, Yuri, before her performance. On the screen, Yuri's performance becomes strained and desperate. A sudden wave of panic hits Kang Hyun-ju as she watches her daughter. The horrifying side effects begin to manifest as foam bubbles from Yuri's mouth. The delivery man calmly notes that she must have been in a hurry. He then questions just how much of the drug she administered to her daughter. Kang Hyun-ju screams in absolute terror, begging for her daughter to stop. But it is too late as Yuri's body contorts unnaturally, her legs snapping under the immense pressure. Yuri lets out a blood-curdling scream as she collapses to the stage in a broken heap. The audience erupts in confusion and panic. Onlookers can only stare in shock, wondering what has suddenly gone so wrong with the performance. Kang Hyun-ju is frozen in horrified disbelief. Her horror turns to rage as she screams at the delivery man, accusing him of lying about the drug's side effects. He calmly reminds her that the guarantee only applies when sticking to the recommended dosage. He then coldly assesses the situation, declaring that there is no hope for her daughter now. He cruelly points out that she will now have to satisfy her daughter's fake desires just to keep her alive. He explains that Yuri will be unable to live a single day without Blue Ribbon, cementing Kang Hyun-ju's new status as a permanent VIP customer. The devastating reality sinks in, and Kang Hyun-ju breaks down completely, screaming in anguish over the investment she has lost. His business concluded, the spiky-haired man turns away from the scene. He stands over the broken Kang Hyun-ju, his demeanor cold and detached. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with an incoming call from someone named Jin Jae-hee. He answers, but is immediately confused by what appears on his screen. A video feed shows a terrified Jae-hee who stammers an apology to him, calling him Young Moo. The camera is then taken by Lavis, who calmly asks if Jae-hee is the one responsible for making the blue ribbons. Young Moo stares in shock, wondering who on earth he is looking at. Lavis confirms that it is indeed him, and states that he needs to see Young Moo for a moment. Visibly rattled, Young Moo informs his customer that something urgent has come up. The scene then shifts to a dark shipping container yard, the apparent location of the unfolding situation. Standing amidst the defeated crew, Lavis asks Street for her opinion on why humans use drugs, to which she replies that it is because they are stupid and arrogant. He reflects that humans are overconfident in their ability to avoid addiction, but in reality, they cling to something so small because they have nothing else to believe in. His thoughts are interrupted when Street urgently points out an approaching group. The captive Jae-hee screams out Young Moo's name in desperation. Young Moo arrives with his entourage and immediately asks Lavis if he was also responsible for the incident at the tattoo shop. He then looks down at the prince, asking if he was looking for him. Lavis coldly dismisses him as trash, stating his only interest is in where Young Moo acquired the blue ribbon drug. He elaborates that it should be difficult for a mere human to obtain such an item. Young Moo is stunned by this statement, repeating the phrase "a mere human" in disbelief. His eyes widen in dawning horror as he begins to realize the true nature of the person standing before him. Elsewhere, a young man stands over his collapsed father, who is deliriously begging for more medicine. The son desperately tries to rouse him, shaking his leg and calling out to him. He is met with a horrifying sight. His father's eyes are rolled back, his face slack and lifeless. The son stares down in shock, asking aloud if his father is dead. He grimly concludes that his father lived his entire life as an addict and has now died as one. But his shock quickly gives way to a more selfish concern. He erupts in a monstrous rage, smashing the floor not out of grief, but out of fury over how he will get his own fix now. His tantrum continues, his only thought being how he is supposed to acquire the drug without his father. Suddenly, the father's eyes snap open, glowing with the same sinister purple energy. A blackened hand grabs the son's arm, who stammers in terror as he realizes his father wasn't dead after all. A mysterious shadowy entity with glowing purple eyes materializes, asking the son if his father's death is a sorrowful one. The addict son can only stare in utter disbelief. The entity offers to return the man to him, but only if his sorrow truly desires it. But the son's shock twists into a psychotic grin as he mockingly asks why he would be sad that his father is finally dead. He screams that he doesn't need a trash dad, he only needs the drugs his father provided. The entity accepts this, offering a new deal: feed his father's corpse to the gnawing flower. As the son takes the sinister plant, the entity explains that a covenant will be formed, and he will obtain what he desperately desires. The entity then adds a chilling condition to their agreement. Should anyone ever deceive his loyalty or deny the gnawing flower, he is to kill them, and the covenant will protect him. The flower pulses with dark energy as the pact is sealed. The addict son's face contorts into a horrifying manic grin. With a scream, he raises the gnawing flower, preparing to feed his father's reanimated corpse to the demonic plant. Back at the container yard, young Mu processes Lavis's words, questioning how he could be called a mere human. Lavis observes him, noting that for young Mu to be so confident, he must have something he truly believes in. Young Mu confirms this, stating that his master gave him a new life. Lavis immediately understands the implication, concluding that young Mu must have made a contract with a demon. His eyes glowing red with contempt, Lavis dismisses whatever trash young Mu believes in, calling both him and his master a pity. Young Mu's composure shatters into fury, demanding to know how Lavis dares to insult his master. He orders his men to drag Lavis to him, and his two subordinates immediately charge forward. Suddenly, Street rushes into the scene, seemingly panicked and shouting that this is happening again. Unimpressed by the display, Lavis declares that this is getting boring and decides to end the fight quickly. The scene cuts away to an ambulance speeding down a highway. Inside, Kang Hyunju watches over the injured Yuri, remarking that since the launch of the I'm Here app, orders for their drug, Blue Ribbon, have skyrocketed. The app's viral success is shown spreading among students, as the organization confidently predicts it will be easy to expand their VIP customer base nationwide. As the drug's distribution network expands, one member wonders if their operation will soon become a global enterprise. The devastating consequences of the drug are shown as another young victim lies on the floor, a casualty of the Blue Ribbon's addictive power. One of the subordinates boasts about their leader's ambition, revealing that young Mu has already established distribution routes in China and Japan. He continues to praise young Mu's capabilities, but his leader remains silent, focused on the monitors before him. Meanwhile, the app's creator Lim Sion watches in horror as he realizes his creation is being used to rapidly spread the dangerous drug. Overwhelmed with guilt and fear, he desperately wishes for someone to put a stop to the chaos he inadvertently helped create. One of young Mu's subordinates lies broken on the ground, a victim of Lavis's overwhelming power. Jae-hee desperately warns young Mu that their opponent is not human, pointing to the field of defeated men. Unimpressed, Lavis looks away, wondering when the real threat will finally arrive. Elsewhere, the addict's son is enveloped in a sinister purple aura as a shadowy entity gives him a dark command to kill anyone who denies the gnawing flower. He clutches 3 blue ribbon pills, the catalyst for his new power. With his eyes glowing, he accepts the covenant, pledging his loyalty to a figure named Lord Bower Hilt. Back at the container yard, Jae-hee frantically tells young Mu that Lavis is no ordinary high schooler and might be involved with the drug's creation. Lavis is momentarily confused by her accusation, questioning his supposed connection to a new drug. Suddenly, the addict's son appears behind him, his eyes glowing with malevolent energy as he prepares to strike. Lavis's expression sharpens as he senses the new dangerous presence right behind him. Lavis reacts instantly, blocking the addict's son's surprise attack. The empowered addict presses his assault, his eyes glowing with malevolent power. Lavis notes the attacker's incredible speed, realizing he's on a completely different level than the others. The addict is shocked that Lavis can block his attacks and questions if he too has received a blessing. He fanatically declares that his master is his one true god. The pieces click into place for Lavis as he connects the smell of the gnawing flower to the addict's so-called god. With a confident smirk, he correctly identifies this figure as Bower Hilt. The addict is stunned, his shock quickly turning to rage at the mention of his master's name. Lavis scoffs at the addict's choice of master, calling him a pathetic loser. The addict explodes in fury, screaming at Lavis not to insult the one who showed him pity. Lavis continues his taunts, suggesting the addict must have looked so pathetic that even a fugitive like Bower Hilt would take pity on him. The addict roars for him to shut up, declaring that a wretch like Lavis has no right to speak of his master. He unleashes a frenzied barrage of glowing purple strikes. Lavis effortlessly blocks the assault, his demonic eye glowing as he muses that Bower Hilt has certainly moved up in the world. The confrontation triggers a memory of a past bloody massacre. He recalls the slaughter of House Hilt, where a younger, more savage Lavis reveled in the chaos as a lone figure fled in the background. That figure was Bower Hilt, who cowardly ran away, abandoning his family to die. Lavis remembers his own blood-soaked, victorious grin from that day. Back in the present, he finds it amusing that this same coward is now being worshipped as a king, and he wonders aloud where the bastard is hiding. The addict's fury intensifies, and he screams at Lavis for daring to speak about Bower. The attic sun roars, unleashing a barrage of glowing purple strikes. Lavis recoils, disgusted by the foul stench emanating from his opponent. The addict grabs him, vowing that anyone who insults Bauer will be killed by his own hands. He hoists Lavis into the air by his collar. His grip tightens with murderous intent. With a surge of power, he flips Lavis over his shoulder. Lavis is slammed hard into the ground. The addict looms over him, preparing to finish the fight. He brings his fist down, declaring that both the blue ribbon and Bauer belong to him. He screams maniacally, claiming everything for himself. Lavis realizes the addict has completely lost his reason to the demonic energy and now has a clear intent to kill. The addict's eyes glow with pure madness as he brings down his fist. Watching from the sidelines, a terrified Street cries out for Lavis. She knows that in his weakened human body, he has reached his absolute limit. She laments that if this were the demon realm, Lavis would be able to use his true abilities to end the fight. Meanwhile, in the demon realm, Lord Barca and Banbei observe the battle through a magical portal. Barca notes that the test subject has fully fused with the gnawing flower's power, admitting he thought Lavis could suppress him. Banbei expresses his concern that Lavis might genuinely die this time, which would lead to the permanent annihilation of his soul. Lord Barca then asks Banbei if he knows what Lavis hates the most, to which Banbei replies that it is hard to pick just one thing. Barca muses about the source of Lavis's nasty temper, while Banbei silently wishes his companion would not curse with such a revealing expression. Lord Barca reveals the one thing Lavis hates most, simply stating the word filth, which seems to trigger a reaction from the distant prince. With a wicked grin, Barca explains that Lavis is a misophobe who absolutely cannot stand anything dirty. Back on Earth, Lavis's hand shoots up, grabbing the addict's son's wrist with surprising strength. Lying on the ground, his face contorted with rage and disgust, Lavis seethes about how dirty his opponent is.
The addict's son looks down, completely confused by this sudden turn of events.
Lavis declares that he can no longer stand the filthy smell emanating from the addict. He tightens his grip, his knuckles turning white. The addict's son cries out in pain as his wrist is crushed. In a stunning reversal, Lavis is now on his feet, forcing the shocked addict to stumble backward. Lavis calmly examines his own hand, noting that even if it is just his left, it is enough. He clenches his fist, remarking that it feels like he has regained his old hand. He stares down his opponent in cold silence. As purple energy gathers in his hand, Lavis states his unwillingness to touch the addict's filthy body. With the tables now turned, he decides to end the fight quickly. Lavis unleashes a furious barrage of strikes against his foe. The addict reels back in shock, questioning how a mere human could possess such overwhelming power. Watching from a distance, Street cries out her master's name in concern. As a spectral image of his true demonic form appears behind him, the addict is left to wonder what kind of human could do this. Lavis lands a devastating punch directly to the addict's face. The force of the blow sends the addict flying backward, leaving him defeated on the ground. Lavis glares forward with murderous intent as Street watches in terror from the ground. The defeated addict clutches his face, screaming in rage and demanding to know what kind of being Lavis truly is. Lavis orders him to stop talking with his filthy mouth and unleashes another furious strike. He follows through with a devastating blow, sending the addict reeling backward. Back in the demon realm, Banbei watches the scene unfold, surprised by Lavis's sudden change in demeanor. Beside him, Lord Barca correctly deduces that the stench from the awakened addict must be giving Lavis a headache. He explains that it would be difficult for Lavis to get close to such a smell, as the prince despises filth above all else. Barca reveals with a smirk that when Lavis's misophobia is overstimulated, it triggers an awakening, allowing him to access a portion of his true power. Banbei is stunned, questioning if it is possible for Lavis to use his original power while in a human body. He reasons that even with the demonic bloodstone, a sinner's body should be incapable of fully wielding the power of the demon realm. Barca scoffs, explaining that Lavis is no ordinary guy. He proudly declares that no matter what anyone says, Lavis takes after him. Back on Earth, Lavis's eyes glow with demonic power as he prepares to strike. He unleashes a devastating blow, sending the addict flying backward. Standing over his defeated opponent, Lavis calls him a foolish one and tells him to consider himself lucky. He clarifies that the addict is only lucky because he shouldn't commit murder while in this human body. The addict screams in disbelief, unable to comprehend how he could lose after receiving a direct blessing from Lord Bauer. He stares up at the demon prince, his confidence completely shattered. A flicker of hope returns as he remembers the power of Bauer's blue ribbon. But before he can continue, Lavis clenches his fist, warning him not to get any funny ideas. Lavis declares that he will finish this without killing him. He raises his foot over the defeated addict. With a final devastating stomp, he drives his opponent's head into the hard pavement. The addict is left utterly broken. His face is a mask of pure, silent agony. With the fight concluded, Lavis lets out a weary sigh. He wipes his face, remarking that the stench is finally starting to fade. Elsewhere, Lim Sion watches in horror as the user numbers for his I'm Here app skyrocket. The scene shifts to a high school, a closed environment where inescapable relationships are forged. He reflects on the brutal social dynamics of school, where one must pretend to hate others just to avoid becoming a target. He remembers the pain of faking closeness. His original goal was simply to help people find the relationships they truly needed. In the present, he screams in anguish, insisting he never created his app to sell drugs. A flashback shows him coding with frantic intensity. He had poured everything into the app's development. But his work was interrupted when he noticed a strange error, realizing his app was malfunctioning just as Jae-hee's crew closed in. Back in the present, a look of desperate urgency crosses his face. He grabs a chair and rushes towards the door. In a final act of defiance, he barricades the door, trying to buy himself a few precious seconds from his captors. Outside, Jae-hee's crew furiously pounds on the door, demanding to know what Lim Sion is doing. Inside, Lim Sion races to his computer, resolved to permanently delete the app as his captors scream from the other side. He desperately pleads for the process to finish quickly. But his time runs out as one of the goons smashes through the glass window of the office. The enforcer crashes into the room, sending debris flying as he furiously curses at the young developer. He immediately grabs Lim Sion by the collar, demanding to know what he thinks he is doing. The other two crew members reach the computer, horrified to see the app is already in the process of being deleted. They panic, realizing they will be in grave danger if their boss, Young Moo, arrives to find the app gone. On the floor, Lim Sion endures the beating, knowing he just has to hold on until the deletion is complete. He steels his resolve, determined to see it through no matter the cost. Jae-hee's subordinate sends Lim Sion flying backward with a brutal kick. He crashes to the floor, sending a chair and shattered glass flying across the room. In a moment of pained desperation, Lim Sion spots a fire extinguisher on the wall. He grabs it and defiantly points it at his attackers, screaming that the app is his. He unleashes the extinguisher, engulfing the shocked crew members in a thick white cloud. Through the haze, the computer screen shows the deletion process is almost complete. With tears of relief, Lim Sion realizes he has succeeded. His victory is cut short as the enraged subordinate emerges from the smoke. He lands a vicious punch, catching Lim Sion squarely in the throat. Pinning the boy to the floor, he furiously orders the others to find something to restrain him. The other crew members choke and curse within the chemical cloud. Lim Sion struggles helplessly as the enforcer's grip tightens on his throat. With tears of despair, he accepts that he has failed. The enforcer glares down, his face a mask of pure rage. Suddenly, a new voice cuts through the haze, coldly asking who dared to lay a hand on his attendant as a figure with a glowing red eye emerges. The enforcer glances back, confused and unnerved. Before he can process the threat, a hand lunges for him. A powerful blow sends him and another thug staggering back in pain. One of the crew members looks at his fallen comrade in disbelief, calling out the name Seong-jun. But it is Lavis Vindica who now holds the defeated Seong-jun by the hair, having arrived just in time. The remaining crew members can only scream in shock and disbelief. Before they can react, Lavis moves with blinding speed. He effortlessly dispatches the rest of the enforcers in a flurry of strikes. The last of them fall to the floor, completely defeated. Lavis coldly declares that he will not allow anyone to lay a hand on his one and only servant. Lim Sion, still on the ground, looks up in utter confusion, calling out Minho's name. His mind flashes back to a simpler time, when he showed Minho an app he was developing. He explains that the app, I'm Here, was designed to help people with similar interests connect and form study groups. Minho had been genuinely impressed by his friend's creation. He then asked about a strange red button on the interface, a feature whose true purpose was still unknown. Sion explains that he felt guilty for not being able to help when Taewoo's gang dragged Minho away. He admits that he couldn't find Minho at the time, which prompted him to add a new feature to his app. This feature is a red emergency button that, when pressed, shares the user's location with designated friends. Sion passionately promises that if Minho is ever in trouble again, he will come to his aid no matter what. The original Minho offers a warm, grateful smile. He thanks his friend and agrees to download the app, much to Sion's delight. The flashback ends, returning to the present where a tearful Sion calls out Minho's name. Lavis holds up a phone showing the I'm Here app with the emergency signal active and asks if Sion sent it. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sion realizes his desperate call for help was received. The screen confirms that the app's emergency function has been activated. Sion tearfully thanks his savior, uttering Minho's name in relief. He bows his head to the ground, expressing his profound gratitude to Lavis. Elsewhere, in a dark alley, Street struggles to restrain a furious Jae-hee. Street orders her captive to stop struggling, but Jae-hee resists. She calls out to Lord Lavis, who watches the scene from a distance with Sion. Jae-hee glares back, telling Street to release her as she no longer needs the others. Lavis calmly observes that all of the gnawing flowers in the area seem to have been dealt with. Suddenly, a massive inferno erupts in a nearby forest. Emergency services arrive on the scene, urgently coordinating to contain the blaze. As the firefighters battle the raging flames, a sense of unease hangs in the air. The firefighters are shocked to discover bodies scattered across the ground near the blaze. A female firefighter stares in horror, recognizing the people among the fallen. The attic son sits motionless, his eyes vacant and his face covered in blood. Meanwhile, Lavis walks through the city streets with Lim Sion and his new subordinate, Street. Street skips along happily, humming a cheerful tune. Lavis, however, feels a growing suspicion that he is being used by his uncle. He resolves that once he returns to the demon realm, he will not let this manipulation go unpunished. Lim Sion expresses his concern, asking if Lavis is sure he doesn't need to go to the hospital. Back in a room, Lavis dismisses the idea as annoying while Sion tends to him with a first aid kit. Lim Sion looks up with sincere gratitude, admitting he only pressed the emergency button as a last resort and never expected anyone to actually come. Lavis seems to recall the emergency signal. Before he can explain, Street suddenly materializes and violently silences him. She leans in close, angrily questioning if he was truly going to dismiss his arrival as a mere coincidence. Elsewhere, Lavis interrogates the captured Jae-hee, demanding she lead them to her hideout under threat of violence. As Street drags the struggling enforcer, Jae-hee questions Lavis's motives, asking if he is going to such lengths simply because Lim Sion is his friend. Lavis is momentarily confused, only now connecting that the person he rescued was his self-proclaimed slave number 1, and realizing this is why he was absent from school. Jae-hee grows more desperate, demanding to know his real reason, but Lavis simply glances down at his phone. On the screen, the red emergency signal from the I'm Here app continues to flash. Back in the room, Street lectures her master, insisting that he cannot call it a coincidence because that is not how human relationships function. She points out that he will be in the human realm for some time and needs to understand these things, much to Lavis's silent annoyance. Street continues her lecture, pointing out that Sion is looking at Lavis with the admiration of someone who has just been saved by a hero. Lim Sion, now sitting up, asks about the strange girl, prompting Lavis to introduce her as his subordinate, Street. The word subordinate shocks Sion, and a terrible thought begins to form in his mind. He cautiously asks Minho about his sudden, drastic personality change and the presence of his bizarre new subordinate. His fear grows as he struggles to voice his suspicion. His mind jumps to a conclusion. Minho has joined a dangerous organization, and he laments that his friend has gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd. Lavis considers the situation, realizing that Sion will likely be targeted again in the future, and that he cannot maintain his disguise forever. He decides to reveal the truth, confirming Sion's thoughts and introducing himself by his true name, Lavis Vindica, son of the great demon king. Sion stares back, completely unable to process this information. Back in the room, Lavis casually informs the stunned Sion that since he now knows the truth, he will be required to assist him with his work going forward. Sion struggles to comprehend the revelation, dismissing the idea of a demon king's son as utter nonsense. His train of thought is violently interrupted as Street, in her cat form, suddenly rubs against him, causing him to cry out in shock. Lavis, weary from the day's battles, delegates the task of explaining everything to his subordinate, Street. The cat playfully addresses the terrified Sion, telling him to listen closely. The realization that the cat can talk shatters Sion's remaining composure, and he lets out a scream of pure terror. The overwhelming shock proves too much for him, and he promptly faints. Elsewhere, the defeated attic son sits in a vehicle as an associate confirms they have destroyed all evidence and will now separate. The addict's son trembles with rage, consumed by the thought that he was so close to killing his opponent. The scene shifts to a restricted area with emergency vehicles where a man is approached by a mysterious hooded figure and asks for their identity. Before he can finish warning that the area is restricted, the hooded figure places a hand over his mouth, commanding silence. The man's consciousness fades as the hooded figure's hand covers his face. He collapses to the ground, neutralized by the mysterious intruder. The hooded figure then turns to the defeated addict's son, remarking on his miserable appearance. Consumed by rage, the addict screams out the name of Lord Banbei, vowing to kill the one who defeated him. The hooded figure extends a hand, calmly inviting the vengeful young man to come and talk. Back at the forest fire, emergency services continue to work at the scene. A female police officer examines a sample of the blue ribbon drug, wondering who could have taken down all the dealers. She is stunned to discover that the drug was somehow approved by the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. Clenching her fist, she realizes the drug has already spread widely among students and curses the perpetrators. A sudden headache strikes her, and she turns in confusion to see the man from earlier stirring on the ground. The female officer rushes to her colleague, Detective Cha, asking if he is all right, but he urgently tells her to check the car first. She peers into the back of the vehicle, her expression turning to one of shock. Realizing their suspect has escaped, she angrily demands to know where he went. Elsewhere, the defeated addict's son kneels before a cloaked figure he calls Lord Bauer, desperately pleading for one more chance. Consumed by rage, he screams that with more drugs, he can finally kill his opponent. Lord Bauerhilt calmly holds up a gnawing flower, questioning if the addict understands the value of the flowers that were burned. He then crushes the precious flower in his hand. The scene reveals a horrifying facility where countless humans are being used to cultivate the gnawing flower, as Bauerhilt laments the effort it took to gather them. He expresses his disdain for what he calls worthless humans, lamenting the loss of his precious flowers. The addict's son repeats his desperate plea, vowing that he will kill Lavis if given another chance. Lord Bauerhilt's expression hardens as he considers the addict's desperate plea. He then violently forces a gnawing flower directly into the addict's face. The addict screams in agony as the flower is brutally implanted into his skull. He collapses to the floor, writhing in excruciating pain. Bauerhilt coldly reminds the addict of the blood oath he swore. He commands him to prove his final loyalty with the power of the flowers. Meanwhile, in an office, a frantic Jin Jae-hee desperately searches for a coin wallet, determined to survive and escape. As she screams in frustration, the newly empowered addict's son appears silently behind her. Startled, Jae-hee explains that she came to the office but found it crawling with police. The addict reveals a knife, explaining with a sinister grin that he came looking for her just in case. Jae-hee is startled by the addict's son's sudden appearance, demanding to know who he is and why he's causing trouble. He trembles with a mix of rage and withdrawal, accusing her of being responsible for his disfigurement before desperately begging for more blue ribbon. Realizing he's high on their supply, Jae-hee explodes in fury, demanding to know how much of the drug he took for himself. Her eyes dart around the trashed office. Furious, she grabs a broken stick as a makeshift weapon and lunges at him. But the empowered addict effortlessly catches her arm, stopping her attack dead in its tracks. He easily overpowers her, throwing her to the ground. Dazed and in pain, he can only groan and continue to beg for more of the drug. From the floor, Jae-hee watches in horror as a dark aura erupts from the addict, who lets out an inhuman scream for more blue ribbon. He lunges, grabbing her by the throat as dark tendrils of energy constrict around her neck. Overwhelmed by the assault, Jae-hee is consumed by the terrifying thought that she is about to die. Suddenly, a new figure materializes in a swirl of dark purple energy. His ominous aura fills the room, radiating an immense and sinister power. With a knowing smirk, the newcomer observes that this turn of events would surely displease Lavis. From the floor, the defeated addict weakly asks who has arrived and begs to be saved. The mysterious man coldly states that he lacks the strength to help, adding that the addict should simply accept his fate if he is destined for hell. The addict can only repeat the word hell in utter despair. The man then adds with a cruel smile that he will, however, allow the addict's body to remain. The scene shifts dramatically to a grand, ominous castle in the demon realm. Inside, the mysterious figure welcomes his guest, revealing him to be his younger brother, Lord Barca. The mysterious man's sister confronts him, stating that it seems he has been plotting something ever since Lavis was sent to the human world. Her expression darkens with fury as she demands to know how he dares to use her son. Unfazed, Barca's older brother grins and asks if she has finally caught on. He tells her not to worry, claiming Lavis is grown up now and revealing that he placed a blood demon stone in his body. She erupts in rage, screaming that he has lost his mind and questioning if he intends to announce to the world that the great demon king's son is alone in the human realm. He calmly suggests that his sister should start trusting Lavis a little more. She clarifies that her concern is not about Lavis, but about the unstable state of the world itself. Standing between two opposing forces, she explains that the world is so fragile that even the smallest crack could cause a total collapse. Her brother insists that Lavis is stronger than she realizes, noting that his combat power becomes unparalleled when he's aggressive. Enraged, she grabs him by the collar, warning him that if Lavis's soul is harmed in any way, both of them will be dead. The uncle complains about his sister hitting him, then childishly orders Banbei to find a way to get rid of all older sisters in the world. Banbei tells his superior to shut up, stating he does not want a crazy younger brother, before meekly asking them both to calm down. The argument escalates as Lavis's mother begins choking her brother, leading Banbei to reflect on the miracle of Lavis surviving such a chaotic family. The scene shifts back to the human world, late at night. A trembling Lim Scion finally processes the revelation, asking Lavis to confirm if he is truly a demon. Lavis calmly confirms that this is the term humans use for his kind. Terrified, Scion asks if knowing the truth means he is now destined for hell, but Lavis reassures him that in the demon realm, he would be untouchable. Lavis then declares himself Scion's new master, as he is the successor to the great demon king, causing Scion to panic and reject the offer of protection. Lavis's demeanor turns menacing as he dares Scion to leave, threatening to rip out Banbei's eyeballs and treat them like lollipops. Shifting topics in his terror, Scion asks the crucial question of what happened to the real Minho, a query that seems to sober Lavis's mood. Street chimes in, coldly explaining that Minho was destined to die anyway, and that officially, only such bodies can be used as vessels. Scion is devastated by this revelation, unable to comprehend why his friend was fated to die. Lavis tells him not to be so gloomy, offering the strange comfort that they will all meet in the demon realm in a few decades regardless. Scion sarcastically concludes that his trip to the demon realm is now confirmed, prompting Lavis to remark on humanity's vivid imagination before asking Street to describe their home. Street gleefully describes the demon realm as a place filled with the scent of blood and screams, a horrifying vision that makes Scion beg her to stop. Lavis reassures him that he has a long way to go, instructing him to act normally and, most importantly, not to reveal his secret to anyone. Still trembling on the floor, Scion meekly agrees. Complaining that his body is aching again, Lavis announces he is leaving, with a cheerful Street eagerly following him out. Later, Lavis clutches his head in pain, wondering if he has overused the power of the Bloodstone. His thoughts are interrupted when Minho's sister bursts in with a birthday cake, happily calling him Appa and wishing him a happy birthday. Lavis is confused by the mention of a birthday, but his sister explains that she and their mother worked hard on the cake, though she cannot guarantee how it tastes. She playfully puts a party hat on his head and informs him that their parents will be home soon. To his stoic indifference, she decides they should start the celebration with a birthday selfie. As she leans in for the photo, she notices a mark on his face and asks what happened. She laughs it off, explaining that she stepped in to help an old lady who was being bullied, an act Lavis internally dismisses as unnecessary. He finds her behavior peculiar, questioning why she would help others when she is not strong herself. Changing the subject, she holds up a spoonful of cake and insists that he must be hungry. He reluctantly accepts the bite of cake. The demon prince is immediately overwhelmed by the sensation, shocked by the soft, sweet taste he has never experienced before. Overcome with a strange new emotion, he turns away and covers his face, leaving his sister completely bewildered by his reaction. The moment is shattered as Minho's father storms in, furiously ordering his men to find and kill the people who threw eggs at him. His rage immediately turns on his own subordinate, whom he strikes for failing to protect him during the incident. Minho's mother rushes forward, grabbing her husband's arm and pleading with him to stop. He violently shoves her away, screaming for her to let him go. His daughter cries out, defending her mother and begging her father to stop his rampage. The father turns, his expression twisting with fury at his daughter's defiance. His gaze then falls upon Lavis, and he expresses his utter disgust that his son is eating cake while he was out suffering public humiliation. He dismisses his daughter and stalks towards the dining table with contempt. In a final, furious outburst, he questions how they could even think of eating and raises his fist over the birthday cake. He brings his fist down, completely obliterating the cake and ending the celebration in a violent explosion of frosting. Minho's mother desperately pleads with her husband to stop, reminding him that it is their son's birthday. Unmoved, the father scoffs at the very idea of celebrating a birthday after the humiliation he just endured. Lavis watches the exchange in cold, disgusted silence. Declaring the household to be suffocating, the father storms out of the room. Lavis turns his gaze to the destroyed cake, the remnants of his first taste of sweetness. A dark, demonic aura erupts from the prince as his eyes glow with rage, questioning how the human dared to touch what was his. In the background, the mother apologizes to her children as she and her daughter break down in tears. Lavis observes their display of human grief. Internally, he seethes, condemning the father as an arrogant human. The scene then shifts to a large, modern building, reflecting the light of the setting sun. Inside, Minho's father slams his fist on his desk, furious that a man named Wee Young Moo has cut off all contact and disappeared with his money. He rants about needing to make a large advance payment just for a photo opportunity with Assemblyman Park, cursing Wee Young Moo for the trouble. His subordinate can only promise to do his best to locate the man. The father's tirade continues as he complains about having to grovel to raise his approval ratings, disgusted by the people he's forced to deal with. His rant is interrupted when another subordinate bursts in, frantically announcing that a video of his daughter is going viral online. Confused, the father asks what video he's talking about, and the subordinate presents him with a tablet. On the screen, a video plays showing his daughter, Minha, confronting a group of bullies, declaring that she is recording their actions. She furiously demands to know why they are bullying an old woman, only to be met with more insults from the aggressor. As the bullies in the video decide to leave, the father watches on with a cold, stern expression. The video concludes with Minha kindly checking on the elderly victim, who expresses her sincere gratitude. The subordinate excitedly informs Minho's father that revealing Minha's identity as his daughter will massively boost his approval ratings. A wicked smile spreads across the father's face as he processes the news. He realizes this unexpected event could be the perfect opportunity for a political photo op. The scene shifts to a modern skyscraper, where a new and unsettling story begins. A smug man with purple hair summons two individuals named Han Young and Han Soo. They look at a screen displaying two young women, with one of the newcomers commenting that the girl is their mother's beautiful new vessel. A woman, presumably their mother, asks the purple-haired man if he dislikes the choice, or if he is simply jealous. The mother coldly states that the child on the screen has the face that she purchased. She then declares with a sinister smile that the young girl will become her new body. Looking at her own hand, she laments how quickly human bodies age, wrinkling and becoming unsightly. She believes that discovering such a perfect new vessel is nothing short of fate. The purple-haired man smirks, referring to the young girl as a pretty doll. He then morbidly wonders what sound she will make when she breaks, as the image reveals the target is the happy, laughing Minha. Back in her father's office, a news report on a tablet confirms Minha's newfound fame, revealing the heroic girl is the daughter of the mayoral candidate. His subordinate scrolls through a wave of positive online comments, concluding that this public support should solve their political problems. He adds that Minha's video will also be featured on the 9 o'clock news, much to her father's delight. Minho's father reflects that the child he once dismissed has become a blessing, deciding he needs to pay more attention to his family. He orders his subordinate to schedule more good deeds and volunteer work under Minha's name to further amplify her public image. The subordinate then reports that they were contacted by CEO Han Yong-ju of Nox Entertainment, which catches the candidate by surprise. He explains that the CEO saw Minha's video and is now interested in her. The candidate repeats the name Nox with a smug, calculating smile. Overcome with satisfaction, he reflects that his daughter Minha is truly a treasure. Elsewhere, Lavis's acquaintance expresses his shock that Minho's stepfather is a mayoral candidate, admitting he knows very little about his friend's family. He recalls that the original Minho and Minha got along very well, and that Minho truly cherished his sister. The word cherished resonates with Lavis, who remembers his uncle's lesson to always cherish those who are necessary for his power. A memory surfaces of a boisterous Lord Barca and Banbei, telling a young annoyed Lavis that this lesson also includes them. His acquaintance interrupts his thoughts, asking why he's bringing it up and complaining about overeating. Later, Lavis asks his subordinate Street about the Demon Realm gates and for a message from Banbei, who she explains left a note instead of appearing himself. The note contains a condescending message from Banbei, offering sarcastic congratulations and a small gift to help Lavis on his mission. Enraged by the manipulation, Lavis vows to tear Banbei apart, forcing a nervous Street to plead for him to calm down. The acquaintance shows Lavis a news article confirming his stepfather is a strong candidate for mayor. He worries that with public opinion so favorable, Minho's father might actually win the election. Lavis scoffs at the idea of such a human ruling a city, correcting the term to merely managing it. He internally compares the man's insatiable greed to that of a cinerus. He quietly asks Street if the candidate, young Taisik, could be a cinerus that has crossed into the human realm, leaving her confused. Street explains that a cinerus is a gluttonous demon from the underworld, so voracious that even other demons hate it. She tries to reassure her master, reminding him that she manages this district and that young Taisik is just a human. Lavis remains suspicious, remarking that for such a man to become a ruler proves how rotten the human world truly is. He then pats a dejected Street on the head, warning her to eat in moderation or she might become a cinerus herself. Lavis's thoughts return to the candidate, noting his clear intent to exploit Minha for his own political gain. Lavis contemplates the connection between the original Minho and his sister, Minha. He peeks into the living room wondering what will happen to Minha now. Inside, a meeting is underway with several guests, including the sinister woman known as the Mother and her purple-haired associate, who remarks on Minha's outstanding looks and her potential to debut quickly. Minho's mother hesitantly points out that Minha is still a student who has never wanted to be an entertainer, but Jung Taisik quickly silences her. He argues that it would be wrong to hide a child born with such talent. Jung Taisik then apologizes to his guests, explaining that his wife is just a little reserved. The mother reassures her, promising that Nox Entertainment will make sure Minha can balance her school life and idol activities. Mina listens with a somber expression as they continue to discuss how different idols are these days. The purple-haired man adds that they can still perform and get into any university they want. From the doorway, Lavis watches the man's unsettling demeanor with deep suspicion. Young Taisik eagerly asks if all they need to do is sign the contract. The mother confirms that the contract will ensure a bright future for both Minha and the candidate. Menya remains silent, her posture revealing her deep unhappiness with the arrangement. The mother then notices Lavis, introducing herself as Han Yongju, the CEO of Nox Entertainment. Enraged, Jung Taisik turns and demands that Lavis greet their important guest. The mother calmly dismisses his anger, saying that kids are just like that these days. Lavis's cold observation is interrupted by a memory of the original Minho, who truly cherished his sister. This triggers a deeper memory of his uncle, Lord Barca, once placing a hand on his chest and declaring he was always on Lavis's side. A younger Lavis reacted with flustered anger, questioning the sudden sentiment. His uncle then began a lecture, warning him that the world is full of hostile forces aiming to seize the ruler's power. Barca reminded the young prince that as the heir to Lord Gamadere's throne, he must embrace his own faction to bear such a heavy responsibility. A defiant young Lavis scoffed, declaring he could live just fine with his own strength. His uncle laughed, admitting that might be true for now, but one day he would meet people his heart would be drawn to without him even realizing it. Barca continued, explaining that Lavis would then begin to change without even being aware of it himself. The young prince looked away, annoyed. He dismissed the complicated talk and demanded they just train, a response that made his uncle laugh with pride. The memory fades, and back in the present, Lavis places a hand on Minna's shoulder, getting her attention. He quietly asks if this is something she truly wants to do. Minna looks up at him, confused by his sudden intervention. Lavis tells her that if she is being forced, she only needs to say the word, and he will get her out of the situation. The memory flashes back to a scene of brutal violence, where young Taisik strikes Minho's mother, screaming at her for being an ungrateful brat. He grabs her by the hair, declaring that while he can beat them as he pleases, he will never remove her or the children from his family register. As she begs to be let go, he grabs her by the collar, threatening her with complete destitution if she ever tries to leave. A younger Minha and Minho try to intervene, arguing that their grandfather's inheritance belongs to them, but Taisik cruelly dismisses them as naive. He chokes their mother, maniacally explaining his key to survival. Whatever he takes becomes his forever. The memory concludes with him telling a terrified young Minha to memorize this lesson. Back in the present, Minha looks up at Lavis and quietly states that this is her choice. With newfound determination, she stands and announces that she will accept the idol contract. Facing her father, she lays down a single condition. Any money she earns must be put in her own name. Internally, Mina resolves to use this opportunity to rescue her mother and brother from the monster who controls their lives. Her stepfather, Jungtae-sik, laughs with delight, declaring that her condition is a given, and that her hard work is hers alone. The mother, posing as the CEO, agrees to the deal and suggests they sign the contract immediately. Jungtae-sik then puts on a sickeningly sweet display, asking the president to look after Minha, who he claims is dearer to him than life itself. Minho's mother, however, is filled with worry, asking her daughter if she is truly certain about this. Minha turns to her mother with a reassuring smile, asking her to trust her just this once. She then looks to Lavis and cheerfully thanks him for his concern. Lavis says nothing, observing her with a cold, unreadable expression. Later, the guests from Nox Entertainment depart in their luxury car. Inside, the mother muses to her associate that the more she looks, the more perfect Minha is for her new vessel. She mentally lists the girl's qualities, her looks, her eyes, and a rare purity, loving everything about her future body. Her associate, Han Young, agrees, noting that Jong Minho seemed off. The mother asks for his opinion, while her daughter, Han Soo, adds that she sensed something special about Minha's brother. Han Soo is certain that he is not human. The mother considers this, speculating that if Han Young also felt it, Lavis could be a tracker from the demon realm. Han Young eagerly offers to handle the problem, but his mother stops him, warning that a rash move could cause bigger trouble. She tells him to simply watch for now, as Minha is the priority, which only infuriates Han Young further. The mother tells him to be patient, promising that once the ritual is complete on the no moon night, he can do whatever he wants to Lavis. He asks for her promise, and she reassures him that it will be her gift to him. The conversation is interrupted when Hansu quietly mentions the word Mara. The mother's composure breaks as she whirls around in shock, demanding to know what her daughter means. In the car, the mother reveals her name is Han Yongju, and she will soon be reborn as Jong Min-ha. A flash of her true, monstrous self reveals a deep connection to the demon realm, as she vows that neither the Demon King nor the 12 Black Seats will stop her this time. Meanwhile, Minha arrives at the towering Nox Entertainment headquarters. Taking a deep breath, she steels her resolve, telling herself that she can do this. Inside, the mother, posing as the CEO, introduces Minya to a group of trainees as the new center for their idol group, Zira. One of the trainees, Hyun, protests the sudden decision, only to be coldly dismissed and told to support Minha as a sidekick from now on. The mother tells Mina to make it work, as Hyun glares with pure resentment. Hyun immediately confronts Minha, sarcastically accusing her of using her mayoral candidate father's connections to get the spot. Her anger escalates as she accuses Minha of stealing the center position she had worked 4 years to earn. The verbal assault turns physical as Hyun lunges forward, ready to attack a terrified Minha. Hyun taunts Minha, challenging her to see how far her political connections will get her now. The attack leaves a bloody scratch on Mina's cheek as she stares back in stunned silence. Back in the observation room, the mother calmly exits, leaving Jung Tae-sik behind. Elsewhere, her son Hansu watches a news report of the incident, excitedly remarking that his mother is going to flip out. He eagerly calls for his mother to look at the screen, and she asks what he is so excited about. The news report confirms that Hyun clawed Minha's face, drawing blood. The mother's expression twists into a snarl as she refers to Hyun as a worm. Her demonic nature surfaces as dark markings spread across her face, her rage boiling over at the thought of someone daring to scar her precious vessel. Meanwhile, Lavis discusses the situation with Street, who explains that Minha's debut with the famous Nox agency could lead to her dominating the human world. Lavis internally decides that if this is what the original Minho wanted, he will not interfere, but admits that the mother and her children rub him the wrong way. Lavis reflects that while he couldn't sense a demon aura from the mother and her children, they didn't flinch at his glare, leading him to suspect they are demons in hiding. Street confirms this possibility, explaining that demons who reside in the human world long-term can perfectly conceal their aura, so it is better to be cautious. She warns Lavis not to act recklessly while using Minho's body. Lim Sion adds his own advice, telling Lavis that no one appreciates his constant, intimidating glare. Lavis smirks, confident that he could spot a demon even without his aura, confirming that the group is suspicious. His expression sours as he admits with frustration that he couldn't even sense his uncle, Barca. The thought sends him into a rage as he grabs Lim Sion, ordering Street to drag Barca to the demon realm for a boot camp, a command she enthusiastically accepts before protesting that travel there is now restricted. Lavis fumes, internally complaining that his inability to properly wield the demon bloodstone has left him feeling ignored and powerless. He asks Street if she has figured out how to reclaim the bloodstone's power, and she eagerly reports that she has found a way to restore his demonic abilities. Lavis declares that he will reclaim his power and orders Street and Lim Sion to begin scouting Han Yongju and her children. Meanwhile, at Nox Entertainment, the resentful trainee Hyun walks alone through a dark alley. She seethes in disbelief, her 4 years of hard work and preparation now seemingly for nothing. Suddenly, a massive blade slams into the ground right in front of her. Startled, she nervously calls out, demanding to know who is there. From the shadows emerges a menacing woman in black leather, wielding 2 swords. Hyun, terrified, asks the woman what's wrong and if she did something to offend her. Realization dawns and she begins to cry, frantically apologizing for losing her temper over Minha. Her apology falls on deaf ears as the woman's gaze remains cold and unforgiving. Without a word, the woman unleashes a vicious strike. With blood splattering her face, she coldly asks Hyun why she dared to slap Minha. The menacing woman looms over the terrified Hyun, coldly explaining that her mother hates that kind of behavior.
A man and his wife, Yongju, share a lighthearted moment as they walk home at night. Unseen by the couple, a grotesque slime creature stalks them from the shadows. The monster's horrifying form is revealed, its yellow eyes glowing with malice. The scene transitions to their apartment building, a seemingly safe haven. Later that night, Yongju tosses and turns, trapped in a nightmare. Her eyes snap open in a cold sweat. The creature looms over her bed, expressing its sinister interest as she asks who it is. It seizes her face, declaring its intent to crush all humans. The monster whispers that it will raise her children with care, as it needs a child of its own. Her last thoughts are a desperate, silent scream for her children. The monster forces a small, parasitic slime from Yongju's throat. Her body goes still. She sits up, a twisted and manic grin spreading across her face. In the other room, her husband wakes, wondering what the strange noise was. He turns, calling out for his wife with concern. Suddenly, he is seized by the throat by the possessed Yongju, who questions if he is really the husband. She looks down on him with utter contempt, insulting his low-class appearance. Terrified, the husband demands to know who she really is. The entity casually dismisses his plea. He is thrown violently across the room, screaming Yongju's name in a final, desperate cry. A final splash of blood marks the end of the struggle within the apartment. Sometime later, the entity inside Yongju's body lets out a chilling laugh, caressing its swollen belly. It declares with a twisted smile that this body now belongs to it. The day of delivery arrives, and a scream echoes from the hospital room. In the midst of labor, the possessed woman violently attacks the medical staff, overwhelmed by the pain. She demands they get these filthy things out of her, threatening to kill them all. Her rage is directed at a mysterious horned woman who she blames for her current state. The nurses look on in absolute shock, questioning what is happening. The newborn twins are revealed, their demonic red eyes and strange markings confirming this is no normal birth. Later, back in a messy apartment, the entity complains about her sluggish body and belly fat as her unsettling children crawl on the floor. The demonic twins crawl on the floor, calling out for their mother. She responds by stepping on one of their heads, demanding they repay her for the magic they've taken. The entity orders them to grow up quickly and protect her until she can find a more suitable vessel. Elsewhere, those who knew the real Yongju gossip about her drastic change in behavior since her husband's death. They note with concern that she now hides her children and is never home. Back in a nightclub, the entity cozies up to a man, asking if he works in broadcasting. A sinister aura emanates from her as she implies he must know many attractive young people. The man is visibly confused by her strange line of questioning. As he tries to answer, her power begins to take hold of him. His eyes go blank as he falls completely under her control. She muses that this human world is full of young and beautiful things for her to claim, and she vows that one day she will personally kill the horned woman who cursed her. The scene shifts to an office, where a CEO tearfully explains that the victim Haeyeon was a beloved and talented trainee. A detective questions the group about potential grudges or stalkers. The CEO suddenly becomes ill, unable to continue. A young man explains that the CEO viewed the victim as a daughter and suggests they stop for the day. A female detective turns to another trainee, suggesting they speak with the others. Her partner, Detective Park, agrees to her suggestion. She tells Detective Park Seong-hoon that it's time for them to leave. The female detective remains silent, her expression thoughtful. The office doors slam shut. Inside, the CEO gags violently into a cloth. She suddenly vomits a torrent of green slime and writhing maggots. The grotesque substance splatters across the floor. She furiously complains about the detective's investigation and questions why the money she paid isn't protecting them. Her son tries to calm her, noting the maggots now crawling on her head. She screams that her body is rotting away, blaming the deceased Heian for damaging her vessel. He embraces her, promising to prepare a new body, Young Minha, to ease her stress. The entity Suya impatiently orders him to begin the process immediately. Elsewhere, a camera records as someone discusses the news about Heian's murder. Two of the agency's staff discuss the incident, remarking on the number of psychos in the world. A manager announces that to ensure everyone's safety, all trainees will begin living in the dorms starting tomorrow. A young trainee named Young Minha questions if this drastic measure is truly necessary. The CEO's son reminds her that dorm life is standard, while his thoughts betray his true purpose for her. Minha looks distressed, explaining that she can't leave her mother and brother alone. Her fellow trainee Yongai looks on with cold annoyance at her complaints. The CEO's son quickly steps in, placing a hand on Yongai's shoulder to calm her. His inner monologue reveals a chilling threat. Their mother will kill Yongai if she so much as scratches Minha's face. He then explains to Minha that Yongai is just highly sensitive because she cared for Heian, and advises her to just listen. The trainees are told the CEO will handle their parents, and they reluctantly agree to meet back here tomorrow with their bags. Minha is troubled by the news, her anxiety growing as she thinks about her brother's recent change in behavior. That night, sounds of intense physical strain echo from her home. Inside, her brother struggles with his workout, while another young man effortlessly lifts a much heavier weight, unimpressed by the display. This young man, Lavis, reflects on his growing power, confident he can handle humans with demonic energy but acknowledging his weakness against a true demonic beast. He clenches his teeth in frustration, cursing someone named Bambi for leaving him without instructions on how to control the demon blood stone. The scene flashes back to Bambi, who had written a letter to his dear friend Lavis, promising him 2 gifts. The first gift was a set of instructions on how to control the very stone Lavis now possesses. The letter explained that the stone, typically used to suppress prisoners, was modified to link the magic power of Lavis's lingering spirit directly to his new human form. Bambi had cackled at the cruel irony of his own design. The stone's full power would only be released if it were to be shattered. The second gift he revealed was the child he had sent to Lavis, leaving the horned woman in his friend's care with a final, loving apology. In the flashback, Bambi holds the letter, instructing that it be delivered so Lavis can find his strength. But upon receiving it, Lavis flew into a rage, shredding the letter without ever reading its contents. Back in the present, he realizes with dawning horror that the instructions he needs were likely in that very letter. Suddenly, a cat-like creature bursts in, frantically calling his name and warning of a terrible event. Lavis calmly asks what the commotion is about, while Minha's brother notes the creature is running on 2 legs. The creature brings up the matter of Han Yangju and the twins that Lavis had inquired about. It then screams in terror, revealing that the woman they know as Han Yangju is actually Mara. Minha's brother looks on in confusion, unfamiliar with the name. The creature explains that Mara Velias, the Witch of Greed and one of the 12 Black Seats, has possessed a human body and is living among them. A subtle, knowing smile spreads across Lavis's face. He muses that the woman he was looking for has been hiding here all this time. The scene flashes back to a lavish party in the demon realm, where guests praise the unparalleled beauty of Lady Ineas. She offers a piece of wisdom, stating that to have beautiful lips, one must first learn to hold truth within them. An admirer is enthralled by her poetic words, concluding that she too will become beautiful since she only speaks the truth. Another guest explains she is teaching her own daughter rhetoric, hoping she will learn the dignity and power of words, just like Lady Ineas. Touched by the sentiment, Lady Ineas offers to grant the young lady the blessing of the silver tongue. As the mother expresses her gratitude, another figure watches the exchange from afar with disdain. This is Mara Velias, who sips her drink and dismisses the entire scene as a bunch of nonsense. Her young companion nervously compliments Lord Veliak's beauty as well, as Mara casually plucks a maggot from her glass. Mara then offers a blessing of her own, a dark curse wishing for the child to struggle, be consumed by desire and die. Her young companion gasps, horrified by the malevolent curse. Mara grits her teeth, promising that Ineas will pay for this. She vows that she will never let this slight go, her hatred for Lady Ineas burning intensely. Back in the present, the cat-like creature realizes that Mara Velias harbored an inferiority complex toward Lady Ineas. Minha's brother explains that his mother knew Mara had been like that since childhood but never paid it any attention. He recounts how Mara was caught stealing from the Spring of Demon Souls shortly after her ascension and fled to the human world. He then wonders why the witch would target Minha, questioning if she might know his true identity as Lavis. Lavis dismisses the theory, reasoning that if Mara knew who he was, she wouldn't have left him alone for this long. He admits that in his current state, he is no match for that woman, and her underlings are likely formidable as well. The cat-like creature insists they must quickly strengthen the power of the demon bloodstone and rushes to prepare. The creature announces the first step of their witch-hunting preparation is to clean up the local riffraff. The scene transitions to a large storage mart. Inside, Minha is shopping with her mother, who expresses her anxiety over recent events and offers Minha a chance to quit. Minha tries to reassure her, explaining that the manager is confident the culprit will be caught soon. Her mother looks downcast, reminding Minha that her original dream was to become a veterinarian. Minha's expression becomes somber as they walk. Her gaze lands on a bag of pet food as she reflects that her old dream would take far too long. She is determined to get her mother out of their hellish house as soon as possible with her own strength. She puts on a bright smile, telling her mother that dreams can change, and she intends to become famous and earn a lot of money. Her mother worries about not seeing her, but Minha tells her not to worry, as a certain man will quiet down after the election. Her mother looks down with guilt, apologizing to Minha. She blames herself for remarrying, believing it caused her daughter to go through this hardship. Minha quickly comforts her, insisting that her father's death wasn't her fault and that she had it hard enough raising them alone. She recalls how the man treated them so well before the marriage, concluding that they were all deceived. Her mother is still overcome with sadness, but Minha puts on a determined smile, asking her mother to wait just a little longer and promising to work hard. The scene shifts to a flashback of a thrilling roller coaster ride. A young man with black hair scoffs at the pathetic humans, wondering what is so scary. His friend confronts him outside the restroom, questioning if his lack of fear is because he's a demon, but the boy frantically claims he just has indigestion. He then privately fumes, vowing to never ride that again. The scene shifts to a menacing building under a blood-red sky, where Lavis and two companions stand at the entrance. The blue-haired girl confirms for Lavis that they have arrived at the correct location, addressing the curly-haired boy as Street. She explains that a demon has escaped surveillance, but her sharp instincts have led them right to it. Lavis calmly asks for the demon's name. The demon is revealed to be Scream, a creature that converts people's screams into demonic power. The blue-haired girl concludes that luring it with someone who screams easily would be the most effective strategy. Lavis remarks that Street is finally being useful, prompting the boy to defensively claim he has never screamed in his life. Ignoring his protests, Lavis drags him inside while the blue-haired girl volunteers to guard the entrance. Inside the dark attraction, Lavis questions why humans fear mere decorations, but Street senses a truly strange presence. Lavis tells the terrified boy to stop overreacting, reminding him of their mission. As a grotesque prop lunges forward, Street lets out a terrified shriek, grabbing onto Lavis. He clings to Lavis in absolute terror. Lavis immediately calls him out for being startled, but Street insists he was just pretending to test the enemy's reaction. Lavis mockingly asks if that was his first scream ever, and Street reluctantly admits it might have been. Suddenly, a glowing green eye opens in the darkness. Lavis explains that each time the demon bloodstone reacts to evil in the human world, its power is released a little more. He reasons that absorbing the evil of a demon, which is stronger than human evil, will unlock even more of the stone's potential. The demon, Scream, emerges from the shadows, commenting on how sweet and clear Street's scream was. Its full monstrous form appears, describing the scream as pure as a baby's first cry, causing Street to recoil in fear. The creature declares his scream delicious and lunges forward, demanding more. Street calls out in terror, realizing he's face to face with the demon. But Lavis quickly pulls him back. He steps forward, ordering the creature not to touch Street, whom he claims as his attendant. Scream sizes up Lavis, sensing he is not human. Lavis's eyes glow red as he taunts the demon, wondering what kind of scream it will make. Scream scoffs at the threat and immediately strikes, sending Lavis flying across the room. The demon turns its attention back to Street, savoring his terrified shriek. Lavis recovers, noting that only his left hand is currently usable as it glows with demonic energy. He then charges forward, ready to strike the monstrous creature. Scream grins menacingly, preparing to intercept his attack. Lavis is sent flying by the demon's powerful strike. Street screams for Minho to watch out as the demon's claw approaches. The creature absorbs the energy from his fear, demanding he scream for his life. Lavis grabs Street, ordering him to be quiet and explaining that his screams are only making the demon stronger. Scream turns its attention back to Lavis, savoring the look of terror in his eyes. It muses about turning his eyes into earrings before striking down with a devastating blow. Lavis blocks the attack with his glowing fist, questioning who the demon thinks is terrified. He lunges forward, ready to land a punch on the creature's face. The demon laughs, mocking his short arms and his desperate struggle. It looks down on Lavis with condescending amusement, finding his efforts adorable. Lavis realizes with frustration that his physical abilities are still at a human level, making him no match for the demon. He is violently thrown aside by the creature's immense strength. Street watches in absolute terror, crying out his friend's human name. Lavis is pinned down, struggling under the demon's crushing grip. Scream reveals a sinister weapon, a glowing green dagger forged from the essence of Street's screams. It sadistically wonders what kind of scream Lavis will produce when it gouges his eyes out with the blade. Infuriated by the lowly demon's insolence, Lavis grits his teeth and vows he will not scream. The demon mockingly offers to test his resolve, lowering the dagger toward his eye. The glowing tip inches closer, but upon making contact, the ethereal blade shatters into pieces. Street gasps in horror, stifling another scream. On Lavis's chest, the demon bloodstone begins to crack. The demon looks on, confused. Lavis wonders what this strange sensation is. Suddenly, his vision clears, and a manic grin spreads across his face. The scene flashes back to Banby writing his letter. He explains that the stone was modified to link Lavis's demonic power directly to his human body, a power that would only be fully unlocked once the stone was shattered. Lavis finally understands, realizing Banby had hidden the unlocking condition in plain sight. Scream reels back in shock, unable to comprehend why its blade failed to harm a mere human. Lavis unleashes a torrent of demonic energy, declaring that he is no mere human. The monstrous demon lets out a piercing shriek, its presence overwhelming the room. Lavis turns to Street, ordering him to continue screaming without stopping. Street questions the command, arguing it will only make the demon stronger, but Lavis insists he just shut up and scream. Unsure of the plan, Street decides he has no choice but to trust his friend. He takes a deep breath and unleashes the most powerful shriek he can muster. The demon Scream basks in the green energy, savoring the delicious screams. Lavis explains that the seal on his right leg is now breaking with the opening of the demon bloodstone. Street continues to scream at the top of his lungs. The demon laughs maniacally, mocking the foolishness of its prey and declaring that their arrogance will be their downfall. Lavis reveals a critical flaw, explaining that the demon's movements become sluggish the moment it consumes a scream. He crouches low, his leg glowing with newly unlocked power, and challenges the demon to let him hear its own scream. With a manic grin, he lunges forward, ready to unleash his attack. His foot connects, wreathed in demonic energy. He delivers a devastating kick to the creature's head. He can now clearly feel the demonic bloodstone's power now that its shell is broken. He channels the surging energy, preparing for his next move. As the demon begins to dissolve, Lavis realizes that by absorbing its evil, his own power will return much faster. The creature lets out a final, gurgling cry. Lavis looks up as the energy flows into him, confirming his theory was correct. He notes that the power accumulated from a demon is far greater than any human evil. Now that the demon bloodstone is unlocked, all he needs to do is absorb evil to regain his original strength. Street stammers in fear, asking if Lavis is all right after seemingly absorbing the demon. Lavis turns with a sinister grin, confirming he is fine and suggesting they hunt the next demon. The scene shifts to a tall building at night. Inside, Manhwa thanks a director for showing her to her new room. The director coldly instructs her to unpack, forbidding her from leaving until practice begins. Manhwa reluctantly agrees, her expression somber. The director leaves, the door closing behind her. Alone in the room, her thoughts drift to her mother and brother. She tries to steel her resolve, telling herself she can do this. Her gaze drifts upward, noticing a security camera in the corner. The camera lens stares back, silently observing. Elsewhere, the CEO's son watches her on a monitor, his monstrous hand reaching out as he tells his mother, Suya, how excited he is. Suya asks if he will still obey her once she switches to the new vessel, and he assures his mother that he will, preparing to begin the process. The scene shifts as Lavis and his companions walk through a crowd. Suddenly, the blue-haired girl stops, recognizing the distinct scent of blood in the air. She turns to Lavis and congratulates him on recovering his demonic energy, addressing him as the master of the blood of all living things. She introduces herself as Strit and passionately pledges to become his shadow, following him to the end of the darkness. Lavis calmly tells her not to overdo it, instructing her to provide the locations of their next targets while she focuses on tracking Mara. He explains his plan is to deal with them as soon as he regains his strength, and Strit eagerly accepts her orders. Their first target is a demon called Apep Sheol, which feeds on the evil energy from human lungs. Lavis immediately seizes the unsuspecting creature. With a menacing glare, he orders the demon to come with him. It lets out a final shriek as it's instantly vaporized. Lavis recoils from the disgusting smell of its demise. Without a moment's rest, they move on to the next target. This demon, Askra, absorbs the memories of drunken humans. As he absorbs its power, he notes its foul stench and wonders why demons must rely on humans for energy. He explains that demons who flee to the mortal realm lose their power crossing the barrier and must feed on humans to survive. Street trembles, realizing that demonic possession is not just a superstition. Lavis, however, feels he has accumulated enough mana to try something. Street watches in shock as the energy manifests. He reveals that he has finally recovered his sword, Damrackle, though it is not yet in its full form. Street then expresses his concern, questioning if it was safe to send Street out alone. Lavis reassures him, explaining that her demonic energy is so faint she will be difficult to detect. The scene reveals Strit has taken the form of a small bat hanging from a tree branch. She begins to complain about her hunger, worried she might starve. Suddenly, her eye widens as she spots something below. She swoops down with purpose, targeting a lone maggot on the ground. She triumphantly pins the maggot with her foot, but she immediately recoils in shock. She realizes the insect is imbued with Mara's demonic energy. She immediately flies off to inform Lord Lavis. Meanwhile, a luxury car pulls into a parking garage. Inside, a blue-haired boy proudly reports to his mother that he has knocked the girl out. The hooded figure, Mara, lets out a sinister laugh and urges him to proceed. The boy turns his attention to the unconscious girl. Her eyes remain closed. Elsewhere, Strit struggles to speak with the maggot still in her mouth, as Lavis tells her to spit it out. Strit spits out the maggot, presenting it to Lavis, who comments on the foul stench. He immediately identifies it as Mara's parasite, deducing she possessed a human body after crossing the barrier. He explains that the parasite's appearance means Mara's current vessel is decaying, and she needs a new one. Street realizes with dawning horror that the scouting offer was a ploy to take Minha's body. Lavis scoffs at Mara's obsession with youth, prompting a confused question from Street about his own mother. He casually reveals his mother is over 6,000 years old, leaving Street to wonder about Lavis's age. Lavis struggles to recall, his mind drifting back to a time his uncle showed him the mortal realm. In a flashback, they watch humans building the pyramids, which his uncle proudly claims as a temple for himself. The uncle, Varkan, boasts of his divine status, but a young Lavis looks on with disdain. Varkan's companion gently corrects him, explaining the humans are actually worshipping a heavenly god named Ra. Varkan angrily questions why the humans would worship someone he defeated, but the young Lavis is uninterested. He laughs maniacally, declaring that since he won the fight, the temple is his by right. Back in the present, Street realizes with shock that the pyramids were built 4,000 years ago. Street panics, fearing that Lavis's younger sibling will be devoured by Mara. Lavis's expression hardens as he realizes Minha is in grave danger. The scene shifts to an isolated dormitory building at night. Meanwhile, Mara and her son arrive at a desolate construction site, a place he calls his birthplace. They stand together under a sky that reveals nothing. He looks up at the imposing structure, confirming their location with his mother. She explains this is a gap between the demon and human realms, hidden from the heavens, as her son carries Minha's unconscious body inside. They are confronted by a group of strange, unsettling individuals who question what is happening. The view pans out to reveal a vast hall lined with countless bodies, all leading to a single horned figure. The horned demon holds a purple flower, demanding to know who they are. Mara reveals her identity as Mara Velias and claims this rift as her own, shocking the horned demon. He scoffs at her, mocking the former member of the Black Throne for being a mere fugitive unable to use her magic, and orders her to leave. As Mara's son holds Minha's body, the demon warns them to be careful of the flowers on the ground. Mara concedes that she is currently nothing, admitting that just maintaining her human vessel is exhausting. But she reveals that she has made preparations, presenting her children who will protect her. The horned demon looks on with contempt, questioning the ridiculousness of parents who rely on their children for protection. Mara dismisses his judgment, declaring that since she gave them life, it is their duty to serve her before ordering him to get the weeds out of her sight. The horned demon recoils in fury at her insult to his sacred flowers. He lunges forward, lamenting that no one recognizes their true worth. But Mara's son intercepts him with a brutal kick, questioning his aggression. Mara praises her son for his good work, a sinister smile spreading across her face. The scene flashes back to Mara, who laments the waste of the demonic soul spring she worked so hard to steal. She force-feeds the potent liquid to her infant children, ordering them to swallow it. This substance is revealed to be from the demonic soul spring. It is located in the deepest valley of the demon world, a place filled with the tears of the creator god. This spring is the very source of magic power, a holy water she believes is the only thing that can satisfy her greed. In the past, she had cursed a being named Gamudare Vindica for monopolizing the spring, calling him a despicable bastard. She orders her crying children to drink the potent liquid and protect her. Her true goal is to find a being named Circle, who is hidden somewhere in the human world. Back in the present, Lavis and his companions race through a desolate forest, with Street questioning their path as Strit confirms Mara's scent is growing stronger. The cat-like creature announces that they have arrived at the correct location. Lavis stops abruptly, causing his companions to crash into him as they all stare at the unexpected building. Strit laments that the overwhelming stench has now rendered her powerful nose useless. A terrified Strit clings to Lavis, begging him to save Manhwa no matter what. Lavis agrees and begins to walk forward, dragging Strit along as the boy protests that he will only be a burden. Lavis coldly informs him that he will make a decent shield, much to Strit's horror. Left behind, Strit cheers them on, pleading for Lord Lavis to defeat Mara. But Lavis stops her, insisting she come with them as they will need the numbers. Strit trembles in frustration, questioning the point of wealth and glory and wishing she had stayed under Lord Bambi's protection. Inside the desolate building, a purple magic circle glows ominously. Manhwa lies unconscious in its center as Mara beckons for the ritual to begin. The defeated horned demon pleads with the Witch of Greed for mercy, offering his services in exchange for his life. Mara's son eagerly asks to be given the demon to handle, as the creature grovels and promises to work hard. The bloodied demon mutters that birds of a feather flock together. Mara's narration introduces her followers: a drug addict, a runaway, and her own hybrid twins, all of whom she deems suitable for her purposes. Suddenly, her son recognizes a new arrival, identifying him as Manhwa's brother. Behind Lavis, a terrified Strit realizes with dawning horror that the countless bodies lining the hall are all real. Mara's son addresses Lavis by his human name, remarking that he has finally found him. The horned demon, now identified as I Am Sion, claims he saved Lavis and demands his obedience. Strit trembles in fear, realizing he is now in the true demon world. Mara furiously questions if Lavis is the one who ruined her plans. Her son smirks, telling his mother he knew Lavis wasn't human and asking if she recognizes him. Strit steps forward, proudly revealing his identity as Lord Lavis Vindica, the one who slaughtered the Bauer family. Mara reels back in shock and rage, identifying him as the son of her rival Ineas. The horned demon also recognizes the name, calling Lavis the butcher who wiped out his own family. But Mara's fury quickly turns to calculation, realizing this is a perfect opportunity. She clenches her fist, believing she can finally avenge her family while he is trapped in a weakened human form. Mara seethes with rage, cursing the hateful Ineas for sending her son to the human world just to interfere. Lavis calmly assesses the situation, realizing that with his current strength, fighting all three is impossible, especially since the horned demon could betray him at any moment. He decides to deal with the traitor later and coldly orders I'm Sion to get out. The horned demon explodes with fury, questioning if Lavis still thinks he holds his former power and vowing to kill him with his own hands. Lavis's patience wears thin, his demonic eye flaring as he screams at the demon to leave if he doesn't want to die. The sheer force of his command startles I Am Sion. Lavis's hand glows with demonic energy as he issues a warning for all demons in the human world, proclaiming his descent as the Lord of Blood and ordering them to behave until he returns. I Am Sion is stunned, unable to comprehend how Lavis can use magic while in a human vessel. Before he can process this, one of Mara's followers sends him flying with a powerful kick. The horned demon is launched out of the building and into the night. Lavis taunts Mara, telling the old woman that stealing a body requires enduring immense pain. Mara explodes in rage, questioning how the young brat dares to speak to an elder in such a manner. She coughs violently as her son tries to calm her, warning her not to push herself. Wiping the blood from her lips, Mara admits her curiosity has been piqued. She wonders what expression her rival, Ineas, will make when her children tear this cherished son apart. Lavis mirrors her sinister grin, equally curious about the look on Mara's face when the children of the woman she envied die. She calls out to her children, Hansu and Hanyong, asking which of them will be the first to bring her Lavis's tongue. A glowing purple flail materializes from thin air. Her son Hansu confidently claims the prize, telling his mother to wait just a little. Beside him, his sister Hanyong stands ready, her own massive blade crackling with demonic power. Hansu tells his sister to stay back, boasting that his weapon is more than enough to silence Lavis. The battle erupts in a chaotic flurry of purple and red demonic energy. But Hanyong intercepts the attack, ordering her brother to stay out of her way. Hansu furiously tells her to move, accusing her of getting in his way. She coolly dismisses his anger, telling him to be quiet and simply watch her back. Lavis observes their complete lack of teamwork, realizing he can use it to his advantage. He taunts the siblings, suggesting that at this rate, they will tear each other apart before they ever land a blow on him. Hansu panics as one of the wild attacks nearly strikes him. He analyzes their clashing personalities, noting Hansu's overconfidence and Hanyong's cynicism make them the perfect pair to turn against each other. His blade meets hers in a shower of sparks. Lavis parries Hanyong's powerful downward strike, their demonic blades clashing with immense force. He simultaneously deflects Hansu's incoming flail. Hansu growls in frustration, demanding another chance to strike. Lavis counters, landing a clean slash across Hanyong's side. He notes their surprising strength for mixed bloods, wondering what Mara did to them. Enraged, Hansu turns his attack on his sister, declaring he will be the one to claim Lavis's tongue. But his wild swing catches Lavis in the chest. Hanyo interjects, claiming that she will be the one to take Lavis's head. She lunges forward, forcing Lavis back with a flurry of strikes. She watches in disbelief, realizing he managed to dodge her attack midair. Hansu furiously reminds Lavis that only he has the right to take his life. The chaotic battle continues, with Lavis skillfully evading their combined assault. He parries another powerful strike from Hanyo. Her eyes burn with murderous intent as she repeats her desire for his death. He narrowly avoids her blade once more. Lavis realizes he lacks the mana to fight them both and decides to provoke them, taunting Hansu about his strong big sister. The taunt works perfectly as Hansu explodes with rage, clarifying that he is the older twin by 18 minutes. He loses all composure and unleashes a wild, furious attack. His reckless assault misses its target and strikes his own sister, who cries out in pain. Hanyong glares down at her brother, berating him for his foolish and reckless charge. Hansu screams that he will be the one to present Lavis's corpse to their mother. Lavis notes that Hansu's attacks have become wilder. This means the enraged twin is finally within his range. Elsewhere, Strit expresses her profound disappointment in Mara, who she once revered. The follower explodes in rage, questioning how a lesser beast dares to call her grotesque. The woman lands a blow on Strit, who cries out for Lord Shin to act. The curly-haired boy, now identified as Shin, stumbles toward the ritual's magic circle. He places his hands on the purple energy, letting out a powerful cry. He struggles with the strange sensation, unable to tell if it is hot or cold. Inside the sphere, Minha lies unconscious as he strains against the powerful magic. He desperately pleads for Minha to open her eyes. Meanwhile, Strit desperately fends off the attacks from Mara's follower. She urges Shin to hurry and save Minha, promising to hold the line. Shin unleashes a furious punch against the magical barrier. His hands are left bloodied and trembling from the effort. He laments his own powerlessness, believing that as a mere human, there is nothing he can do. A memory of happier times with Minha and Lavis flashes through his mind. But even so, he grits his teeth in defiance. He refuses to give up, vowing to save Minha no matter what. He strikes the barrier again with renewed determination. Strit cries out as the follower's tendrils slash across her body. The woman tells her it is time to stop this half-baked beast play. Strit is shocked that the follower can attack so fiercely with a rotting body, a testament to the power of the 12 black seats. The woman scoffs, questioning if Strit really thought she could do anything just because of her appearance. She is sent flying by another powerful strike. Purple blades impale her shoulders, pinning her to the wall as she cries out in pain. The follower tells Shin to watch closely and see the end that awaits such vermin. Terrified, Strit screams for Lord Shin to run away. But Shin remains, his eyes filled with a new resolve.